Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 1489. In the Evergreen Kingdom, Qin Wentian's group of 5 returned. They had been out for 30 years roaming the world. During these 30 years, Qin Wentian let go of everything and lived a carefree life. He only had beauties by his side. Occasionally, he would sit down and cultivate his insights, not forcing himself. His state of heart was incomparably calm as he tempered himself in the world of mortals. During these 30 years, although he seemed to be playing around, he was also cultivating his heart and heart, doing as he pleased. He also gained different insights into the laws of heaven and earth, and his state of heart was no longer comparable to the past. Several years ago, he successfully broke through and entered the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. However, he didn't care about it at all. Until now, when he returned to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Chongqing the Great was still absent. Right now, the city of ancient emperors had gathered experts from all over the world. Who else could be as carefree as Qin Wentian? Giving up the good fortune in the city of ancient emperors and roaming the world instead. Qing Er's residence was as quiet as ever. After they returned, they immediately went to pay a visit to Princess Chongping, who was the closest to them. Upon seeing that Qin Wentian and Qi Er had returned, Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis naturally welcomed them personally. Right now, Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis could no longer see through Qin Wentian. When they thought of how famous Qin Wentian was, they couldn't help but to sigh. Thinking back to the past, when Qin Wentian first came to the royal palace of the empire, he was still a junior with a low cultivation base. He broke through here, and at that time he was still jealous of those juniors with nobility. But now, those juniors who once fought against Qin Wentian were still juniors. As for Qin Wentian, who would still dare to look at him with the same gaze they used to look at him in the past? If this fellow could become an immortal emperor in the future, he would be a living legend. Who are these two little fellows? Princess Chongping asked when she saw Jian and Jiran. Aunt, these are Jian and Jiran. We met them outside and their backgrounds are pitiful. Now they are Wentian's disciples. If Wentian and I leave, the two of them and Qingqing will be taken care of. Qing Er spoke in a light voice, her words causing Princess Chongping to start. You just returned and you want to leave again? Princess, I'm sure you know the situation in the immortal realms. Although it seems calm on the outside, a terrifying storm is brewing. Princess, the city of emperors is the immortal realms, the city. But sooner or later, the immortal realms in the immortal realms, the city of emperors. We have already lived for 30 years, so we Wentian Qing it. We it there. And it. Qing will Qing Er as well? Princess Qing going. I don't wish for her to go. It's just that when this lass heard that I wanted to go, she wanted to go as well. I'm a little worried, but I can't change her mind. Aunt, can you help me persuade this lass? Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. Qing Er held his hand and spoke in a melodious voice. Wherever you go, I will go. Princess Chongping's eyes flashed with a bright light when she heard the way Qin Wentian addressed her. She smiled. You even changed the way you address me. Seems like the good things are about to happen. Qing Er, Wentian's words aren't without logic. Why don't you stay behind and accompany me? The city of ancient emperors is too lively now. Don't you prefer peace and quiet? The commotion in the city of ancient emperors was too great. Ordinary immortal kings wouldn't dare to head there. There was basically no place for them to stand, and they had no way to contend against those people. Aunt is right. Qing Er, I have too many enemies in the city of ancient emperors. If I bring you along, it would be inconvenient instead. Qin Wentian spoke. Qing Er coldly glanced at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian's heart to soften. After that, he heard Qing Er speaking. I will return to my sect to look for my senior sister and see if she's willing to accompany me. Okay. Qin Wentian could only nod. There should be many experts under GD, and she shouldn't be like him, who had enemies all over the world. In addition, Qing Er had 2 identities. She was the beloved disciple of GD, and the daughter of Chongqing the Great. No matter who wanted to touch her, they would have to think twice before doing so. She was much safer compared to him. Qing Er, in that case, I will head to the city of ancient emperors first. After you return to your sect, remember to bring your senior sister along with you. Don't act alone. Qin Wentian spoke. When Qing Er heard Qin Wentian's words, she coldly stared at him, as though she was filled with resentment. Staring at her cold countenance, Qin Wentian grabbed Qing Er's slender waist, pulling her into his embrace, causing Qing Er's body to tremble. Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis both widened their eyes. After that, they saw to their shock that Qing Er resisted lightly, but to no avail. Hence, she allowed Qin Wentian to do as he pleased. Qing Er, I understand your feelings. It's not that I'm ruthless, but I've offended too many people and powers. I'm doing this for you. Qin Wentian gently spoke. Qing Er nodded lightly. I'll listen to you. But if anything happens to you, I naturally won't live alone. Silly lass, with you and Qingqing around, how can I bear to let anything happen to me? Qin Wentian gently stroked her hair. After that, he turned to Qingqing. Qingqing, if I'm not around, you have to cultivate well. You have to be careful too. Qingqing smiled as she stared at Qin Wentian. They hadn't been apart for 30 years. How could she bear to part with him? However, a radiant smile could still be seen on her face. She didn't want Qin Wentian to worry. Aunt, I'll leave first. Little lass Qing Er, help me persuade him again. Qin Wentian stared at Princess Chongping as he spoke. So anxious. Princess Chongping was startled. They just returned and they were already leaving? I've lived in peace for 30 years. Now it's time for things to get urgent. Qin Wentian smiled. Princess Chongping didn't try to persuade him any further. She merely added, I was born in a grand era, yet I'm still mediocre. Wentian, your talent is outstanding. You should pursue the path of greatness, contending against the heroes of the world. It's just that safety is the most important. Even if it's not for myself, I understand. Qin Wentian smiled. He then turned to Jian and Jiran. You guys take good care of teacher's wife, understand? Don't worry, master. Jiran nodded. Little lass. Qin Wentian rubbed their heads. After that, his silhouette flashed as he directly departed. Even though Qing Er and Qingqing were reluctant to part with him, he still didn't turn back. Although 30 years to the immortal realms was a short period of time, to the stellar martial cultivators in the city of ancient emperors, these 30 years definitely weren't short at all. The rules of the city of ancient emperors changed. Good fortune descended from the heavens. Tao elements and inheritances descended from the heavens. During these 30 years, it was unknown how many experts were born. Some transformed, some grew stronger, and naturally there were also many corpses. It was unknown how many famous immortal kings of the immortal realms had fallen in the city of ancient emperors. It was extremely rare for the immortal realms to experience such a period of 30 years. It was the same for the city of ancient emperors. According to the discussions of those who had lived for countless years, the transformation of the city of ancient emperors was a sign of the arrival of a brand new era. Extraordinary characters would be born in the immortal realms. This seemed to confirm the legend that an ancient emperor would be born in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. In addition to the appearance of the demon god mountain, the greater demons of the desolate mountains, and the devil cultivators from the myriad devil islands, everyone was clear that the sky of the immortal realms was about to change. At this moment, on a desolate mountain in the city of ancient emperors, two figures could be seen. One was a male and the other was a female. The male was tall and slender, exuding a sense of elegance. He calmly walked over, yet the sorrow in his eyes couldn't be masked. He sat on the mountain and in his embrace, there was a female in white. She was like a celestial maiden with a poignant beauty. Her black hair had turned white and her countenance was pale as well, with traces of blood at the corner of her lips. I shouldn't have come to the city of ancient emperors, the male spoke in a light voice. His tone was so calm, as though there were no traces of emotions within. Fool. The female stretched out her slender fingers, gently stroking his face. She then spoke in a gentle voice. This place should have been a place you wanted to come to. The heroes of the world are all fighting for supremacy. How can you miss out? Cultivating beside me has always been a grievance to you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have today. If you didn't meet me, you wouldn't have today's ending as well. You helped me, but I've implicated you. The young man spoke in a light voice. If it wasn't for me, your accomplishments might be even higher. As for my ending, being able to die in your embrace is already very beautiful. In this life of mine, what else do I have to be dissatisfied with? A beautiful smile could be seen on the pale face of the female, as though she was filled with happiness, "but I've let you down. And now you have to die because of me." The young man spoke. "You've never let me down. Also, in this great era, geniuses are everywhere. In the city of ancient emperors, how many heroes have turned into white bones? Since I'm fated to meet this calamity, it's already destined." The female still had a smile on her face. "I'm tired, I have to leave now. You have to take care of yourself." After speaking, the female slowly closed her eyes as her aura gradually dissipated. However, her expression was calm and peaceful, as though she had passed away peacefully. The young man stared at the horizons. A gentle breeze blew past, causing sand to enter his eyes. Tears flowed down his face as he inclined his head and stared at the sky. Boundless runic light cascaded downwards, resembling the great Tao. These runic lights were all Tao elements that originated from the other immortal realms. A terrifying beam of light shot out from the eyes of the young man. He seemed to be able to see through everything, seeing through the heavens and earth. In an instant, the light from the great Tao landed in his eyes, transforming into countless runic inscriptions that flowed into him, causing his eyes to shine with a resplendent light, like a world of reincarnation. How laughable! Is this just another reincarnation cycle that I cultivated? The young man inclined his head and stared at the boundless void. His demeanor seemed to have changed, his entire person was changing. However, a mocking smile could be seen on his face. It was unknown if he was mocking others or mocking himself. If there were others here, they would surely sigh in admiration. This young man's cultivation base wasn't high. He was only at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm. His emperor's fate wasn't strong, but he actually comprehended a Tao element. Just like what the young man experienced in the city of ancient emperors, there were countless people who rose up, obtaining good fortune and breaking through. Naturally, there were also experts who died. Who? The young man calmly spoke, his voice filled with indifference. He didn't even move. Behind him a figure appeared. It was none other than Qin Wentian. He has returned. He once again returned to the city of ancient emperors. When he saw the boundless light cascading downwards, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. There wasn't just a single Tao element that descended from the heavens. Also, they seemed to exist eternally in the city of ancient emperors, never dissipating. How could this world not change? During these 30 years he left and roamed the immortal realms. With regards to his cultivation, he didn't know if it was right or wrong, good or bad. However, he didn't regret it. Everyone had their own path of cultivation. Back then, when he gave up the good fortune in the city of ancient emperors, it was his choice, his own path of cultivation. "It's me." Qin Wentian removed the mask of the saber-sword immortal king, revealing his true face. The eyes of the young man fluctuated, but it only lasted for an instant. He still didn't turn his head and calmly spoke, "Back then, you and I participated in the test together. You obtained the top ranker, and as for the myriad incarnations, she chose me. Who would have thought that the world would change so much? The Dongshangshan Gate no longer exists. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor spared no expense to kill you, and she died here. My condolences." Qin Wentian was speechless. He didn't know what to say. He also didn't expect that when he met Hua Taishu again, the situation would be like this. "My condolences have passed. Everything shall return to samsara." Hua Taishu calmly spoke. He kept the myriad incarnations immortal king's body, and with a flash of his silhouette, he soared up into the clouds. Chapter 1490. Qin Wentian stared at the vanishing silhouette of Hua Taishu as he let out a long sigh. Back then, when the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor descended upon this particle world, that was the first time he and Hua Taishu met a major character of the immortal realms. Regardless of Eastern Sage, Bai Wuya, the Deep Flame Immortal King, or the Myriad Incarnations Immortal King, all of them were supreme existences at the peak. Bai Wuya's senior brother broke through to the Immortal Emperor realm. The Deep Flame Immortal King had long died in Bai Wuya's hands, the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect was destroyed, and the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor joined Old Devil Duotian. And now the Myriad Incarnations Immortal King died in the city of ancient emperors. In the blink of an eye, a few hundred years had passed. The blue seas turned into mulberry fields. Maybe only time would be able to bear witness to everything. No matter how outstanding a character was, in this cruel world of the martial Tao, who could remain lofty and lofty forever? With a wave of his hand, Qin Wentian once again transformed into the saber-sword immortal king. His eyes flashed with incomparable determination. In this cruel world of cultivation, he had no way to control the world. Only by growing stronger would he be able to prevent tragedies from happening to him. Stepping out, Qin Wentian stared at the Tao element descending from above as a myriad of emotions flashed in his heart. When he returned to the city of ancient emperors again, the emperor's fate he accumulated before had completely vanished. This should be the rule of the city of ancient emperors. Since you left and came back again, even if you have emperor's fate, you would have to start from scratch. The city of ancient emperors 30 years later was much more lively compared to 30 years ago. Even in the desolate mountain ranges, immortal kings could be seen everywhere. All of them had different amounts of emperor's fate behind them. 30 years could be considered a very short period of time, but to the city of ancient emperors, with so many experts gathered here, one could very well imagine how grand the situation was. Right now, not many people in the city of ancient emperors knew of him. When they saw that Qin Wentian didn't have any emperor's fate, their expressions were incomparably calm, and they couldn't even be bothered to glance at him. This should be a newcomer to the city of ancient emperors. If not, he would have at least some emperor's fate. One must know that the person with the strongest amount of emperor's fate in the city of ancient emperors could already directly absorb the light from the Tao elements. How terrifying would that be? Their eyes gleamed with a bright light, as though they could see through everything. As Qin Wentian continued on his way, he could sense that the auras of the immortal kings in the city of ancient emperors were all extraordinary. Their auras were all filled with determination, and there were experts of all ages. Many of them were searching for treasured grounds and were sitting there to comprehend the Tao elements. The closer one was to the central area of the city of ancient emperors, the more experts there were. Characters with extraordinary emperor's fate were also more common. The Tao elements here were more complete, and there were even more extraordinary characters gathered here. However, the more people there were, the more conflicts there would be. For the sake of emperor's fate, for the sake of treasures, they would fight, kill, and plunder. Right now, everyone in the city of ancient emperors knew how strong emperor's fate was. Battles, faith, worship, fear. All of these could strengthen one's emperor's fate. If one could become famous in the city of ancient emperors, their emperor's fate would be even more abundant. Over there, what a strong amount of emperor's fate. Qin Wentian turned his gaze in a certain direction. Over there, emperor's fate could be seen soaring upwards. This pure and flawless emperor's fate seemed to have undergone a transformation, and was now shining with divine light. The Tao elements cascading down from the heavens and earth actually fused together with the emperor's fate. When emperor's fate was strong to a certain extent, it would actually have such an effect. It was simply shocking. Upon seeing this scene, Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he sped towards that direction. Although it seemed to be within reach, in truth, the distance between them was extremely far. Over there, on the peak of an ancient mountain in the central emperor city, a goddess-like figure stood there. Her entire body was flawless, and her skin was as fair as snow. There was a plum blossom imprint in the center of her brows, and in addition to the boundless emperor's fate radiating from her, it caused people to involuntarily want to worship her. It's her. Qin Wentian silently mused. He had seen this woman before. Back then when he fought against the supreme crown prince, she was a supreme beauty from the nine-tailed demon fox race. Back then when he met her, her emperor's fate was already incomparably strong. Who would have thought that now, her emperor's fate had already reached such a terrifying level? Her emperor's fate could even directly aid her in comprehending the Tao elements. Boom! At this moment, an incomparably thunderous sound rang out from afar. The entire space trembled, the earth trembled as rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. Many people turned their gazes over only to see a supreme greater demon suddenly appearing in the air. His body was incomparably gigantic and was tens of thousands of meters tall, blotting out the sun. When he stepped out, everything was raised to flat ground. Rumbling sounds rang out as he directly moved over. His gigantic eyes stared at the nine-tailed demon fox maiden on the ancient mountain peak. Boundless golden light radiated from his gigantic body. He was like a golden devil. This was a greater demon from the desolate mountains. He coldly stared at the maiden as he spoke. You actually dared to kill my clansman to obtain Emperor's fate? Demon Fox, I want you to serve me from now on. The maiden didn't pay any attention to him. It was like she didn't know that he had appeared. Her eyes were still closed, as though nothing in the world had anything to do with her. In the surroundings, more and more experts gathered here, as though they wanted to watch a good show. Boom! A thunderous boom rang out in the air. That gigantic golden devil blasted out with his palm, blotting out the sun. In an instant, boundless golden light transformed into a prison of heaven and earth, capable of destroying everything. The maiden on the ancient mountain peak finally opened her eyes. Her eyes gleamed with an incomparably resplendent light as her flawless robes fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were incomparably terrifying, able to see through everything. Her gaze instantly penetrated through the gigantic eyes of the greater demon. Rumble! A terrifying rumbling sound could be heard. The gigantic palm continued to descend. However, its speed gradually slowed down. Finally, it came to a halt in the void. Its gigantic body was like a statue, frozen on the spot. Are you willing to be my slave and protect me for your entire life? The young woman suddenly spoke as though she was baffled. However, the gigantic body of the greater demon moved as he retracted his palms. His gigantic eyes gleamed with a demonic light as he nodded his head. I'm willing. Kneel down. The maiden's voice was extremely gentle, like the voice of a goddess. With a thunderous boom, that gigantic body of the greater demon knelt on the ground. If anyone dares to disturb my cultivation, kill them without mercy. The maiden coldly spoke. Yes, that powerful greater demon simply knelt there just like that, incomparably respectful as though he was completely subservient. How powerful! The hearts of everyone trembled when they stared at that goddess-like figure. All of them deeply felt that this maiden was invincible. With a single glance, a greater demon was subservient, being controlled and forced to kneel on the ground. After obtaining the Tao element's inheritance, she became even more terrifying. Many experts felt a sense of helplessness. Such a perfect and flawless maiden, even if she was a demon, they would still be willing to marry her. If they could obtain such a woman, their lives wouldn't have been in vain. However, the strength of this maiden made it so that no one dared to be disrespectful to her. Those who once disrespected her were all dead. A beautiful figure flashed over, appearing in the air. When she saw this scene, a look of helplessness appeared in her eyes. During these years, she had always treated this maiden as her rival, wanting to surpass her. However, she discovered that there was no hope at all. This vixen not only surpassed her in terms of looks and demeanor, her strength also caused her to feel despair. Just a single glance. If I fought against her, would I be able to withstand the might of a single glance? Su Qingyao mused. She herself was also a supreme beauty, but when compared to this woman before her, she was clearly inferior. Her beautiful eyes slowly turned over, staring at the experts in the surroundings. After that, her beautiful eyes froze there, stopping on a single person. This person had vanished for a total of 30 years, but the impression he gave her was too deep. Even after 30 years, she could still recognize him with a single glance. It was none other than the saber-sword immortal king. Qin Wentian seemed to have sensed something. He turned his gaze over and saw a beautiful face. It was actually none other than Su Qingyao, whom he had teased back then. What a coincidence. It has been many years since we last met. Fairy Qingyao, how have you been? Qin Wentian couldn't help but to smile when he saw Su Qingyao still in a daze. Upon seeing the teasing smile on Qin Wentian's face, Su Qingyao bit her lips and glared at Qin Wentian. When she saw that there was no emperor's fate behind Qin Wentian, she spoke. I didn't expect that you would actually flee the city of ancient emperors back then. Now that you have returned, could it be that you want revenge? Revenge? A look of interest flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. He didn't feel that the defeat back then was something shameful. Not only for him, in truth, no one who had witnessed that battle felt that it was a humiliation for Qin Wentian. If not, after that battle, Qin Wentian's emperor's fate wouldn't have grown stronger instead. Defeating Huang Jiutian at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, and fighting against the supreme crown prince. If this was considered a humiliation, what about the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors? Seems like after Fairy Qingyao's cultivation base improved, you have already forgotten the lesson of the past. A teasing smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Su Qingyao stared at him and instantly thought back to how this bastard took advantage of her back then, caressing her body. Her expression instantly turned heavy. Initially, she didn't have any resentment towards Qin Wentian, and only wanted to tease him a little. She didn't expect this bastard to bring up the past again. Su Qingyao's cultivation had indeed improved. Today, 30 years later, she broke through from the mid-stage to the peak stage of the immortal king realm. From this, one could see that she didn't waste her time tempering herself in the city of ancient emperors. Lesson. Many immortal kings in the surroundings stared at Qin Wentian. Some of them were puzzled. 30 years ago, many of them weren't in the city of ancient emperors and didn't know of the saber-sword immortal king. There were also quite a few people who saw the saber and sword on Qin Wentian's back, as they gradually recalled the major event that happened 30 years ago in the city of ancient emperors. An expression of interest involuntarily appeared on their faces. Fairy Qingyao, why don't we continue chatting about romance for 7 more days? This seat is filled with nostalgia for the 7 days we spent together in the past. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw Su Qingyao gritting her teeth. It's really him. The saber-sword immortal king has returned. Someone spoke in a low voice. Saber-sword immortal king? Who is he? There were some who didn't know. Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes turned cold as she stared at Qin Wentian. This bastard was still as arrogant as before. He actually dared to say such frivolous words in public. No matter who you are, since you dare to speak to Fairy Qingyao in such a manner, slap yourself immediately. Just when Su Qingyao wanted to say something, a person walked out and blocked her path. He stared at Qin Wentian as he coldly spoke, exuding incomparable arrogance. This scene caused the eyes of those who knew of what happened back then to widen as a look of mockery appeared on their faces. This was truly interesting, wanting the saber-sword immortal king to slap himself. Chapter 1491. Qin Wentian had a mocking expression on his face. He couldn't help but to admit that being beautiful was an advantage. In addition, Su Qingyao wasn't merely beautiful. Right now, her cultivation base had already reached the peak stage of the immortal king realm. From this, one could see that her talent was extremely outstanding as well. Other than this, she also had a good background. For such a woman, there would naturally be many flower protectors. An example was the person who wanted to slap Qin Wentian. Su Qingyao glanced at the person who walked out. She naturally knew who this person was. Although she didn't have any feelings for this person, she didn't hope for this person to antagonize the saber-sword immortal king. Su Qingyao knew that although this person's strength was extraordinary, it was simply courting death if he fought against the saber-sword immortal king. The saber-sword immortal king from 30 years ago wasn't someone he could afford to antagonize. In addition, Su Qingyao knew what sort of character the saber-sword immortal king was. There was nothing the saber-sword immortal king wouldn't dare to do. There's no need for you to interfere in my matters. Just leave this place. Su Qingyao reminded. Fairy Qingyao, you should understand my feelings for you. How can I allow others to humiliate you? This person's words were extremely rude and had a hint of disrespect in them. If he doesn't want to slap himself, I'll kill him myself. That immortal king spoke in arrogance. His eyes flickered with adoration when he stared at Su Qingyao, not concealing it at all. Su Qingyao's expression turned cold. She couldn't be bothered with this anymore. Since this is the case, do as you wish. And that person smiled and nodded to Su Qingyao. After that, he turned to Qin Wentian again. Did you not hear my words? Why are you not slapping yourself? As the sound of his voice faded, a dazzling light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes, akin to lightning. In an instant, the heavens and earth changed color. In his eyes, only a pair of pupils remained. The resplendent sword slashed over, akin to a torrential sword river, unexcelled in the world. Impudent! He roared loudly as law might erupted forth from his body. He punched out, causing the entire space to tremble, wanting to destroy everything. However, the towering sword intent directly vanished, like it had never appeared before. His expression stiffened as a look of bewilderment appeared on his face. However, He only saw another beam of sword light flying over. He stared at the space he was in. He wasn't in the city of ancient emperors at all. He couldn't help but to snort coldly. Illusory arts are just a minor Dao. How dare you bully me? After saying that, he didn't attack again. But for the sake of caution, he still used his power of laws to protect his body. The torrential sword river slashed down, as though it was solid. Crisp sounds rang out. His body of laws was broken, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. When the sword landed, his body was directly split apart. He saw his body being split apart with his own eyes, and his entire body trembled. It's fake. This is an illusion. This is clearly an illusion. He roared. The space around him returned to normal. Qin Wentian was still standing before him, causing him to be in wild joy. As expected, this is an illusion, it's fake. However, at the next moment, a scream of agony rang out from his mouth. His body was truly split apart from the middle. His eyes widened explosively, almost popping out of their sockets as he died with a grievance. Silence, the surroundings were filled with silence. Numerous gazes landed on Qin Wentian. From the start till the end he didn't move at all. The spectators only saw a single glance. After that immortal king roared in rage before he died slain. Someone glanced at the nine-tailed demon fox on the mountain peak. Wasn't she the same as well? She stood there unmoving, and with a single glance, she caused a supremely powerful greater demon to submit. As for the saber-sword immortal king, with a single glance, he killed a peak-stage immortal king. The rumors are true. This saber-sword immortal king is truly terrifying. For those who came to the city of ancient emperors 30 years ago, they had heard of the saber-sword immortal king's name. But when they personally witnessed this battle, their hearts involuntarily trembled. The city of ancient emperors, a grand era. In the silent air, a voice suddenly rang out, causing many to sigh. That's right, the city of ancient emperors, a grand era. This was truly a grand era. This man didn't have any emperor's fate on him, but when many people looked at him with disdain, he only used a single glance to slay a peak-stage immortal king. How terrifying was this? Emperor's fate appeared behind Qin Wentian, growing stronger and stronger, gleaming with a dazzling light, instantly surpassing many people here. Is this the him 30 years later? Su Qingyao sighed in her heart. Initially, she thought that after she broke through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm, she might be able to match up to this man's combat prowess. But from the looks of things now, she was still too far away. If she fought against the saber-sword immortal king, she most probably wouldn't be able to withstand a single strike. What's your current cultivation base? Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wentian as she asked. Qin Wentian had a smile on his face. He stared at Su Qingyao. Why? Is Fairy Qingyao willing to accompany this seat to chat about romance? At that time, this seat will have a good chat with Fairy Qingyao about cultivation realms. This bastard. Su Qingyao bit her lips. Back then when Qin Wentian brought her away for 7 days, he didn't even touch her. At that time she already knew that Qin Wentian wasn't a lecherous fellow. He only wanted to tease and punish her. But now he actually brought it up again, speaking to her in public. Was it because he found it interesting? After 30 years you should have already broken through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm when you returned to the city of ancient emperors, right? If not, he is still in the city of ancient emperors and is even stronger than before. There would be no place for you here. You should be very clear about this point. Su Qingyao probed. Although she guessed that Qin Wentian had already broken through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm, she still wanted to know the exact answer. There's no place for me here? Qin Wentian mumbled. He naturally understood who Su Qingyao was referring to. Since you are so curious, let me tell you. I'm the same as you. As expected, Su Qingyao's heart trembled. Back then when the saber-sword immortal king was at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, he could already fight against a group of immortal kings, defeating Huang Zhouqian and the Yama king. Now that he has broken through to the peak stage, how strong was he exactly? However, would the him now be able to defeat that person? Her bright eyes stared at Su Qingyao. Su Qingyao spoke. During these 30 years, the changes in the city of ancient emperors are extremely great. Many good fortune appeared, and there are also Tao elements descending from the heavens. Everyone's strength is rapidly rising. Even if you have broken through now, he wouldn't remain stagnant. If you fight again, you might not be his opponent. I advise you to leave. Fairy Qingyao, are you worried about this seat? Qin Wentian smiled. Just like in the past, when he came to the city of ancient emperors, he was the saber-sword immortal king. He was no longer Qin Wentian. I'm worried about you? Su Qingyao rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. I'm only reminding you. I'm afraid you might be too complacent and think that you can defeat the Yama King just because you broke through. You are improving, but others are also improving as well. Don't run away with your tail between your legs like before. Oh. An expression of interest appeared on Qin Wentian's face. How powerful was his eyes? They contained the will of truth, able to see through all illusions. Although Su Qingyao spoke to him in a malicious manner, he could clearly sense that she had no ill intentions towards him. If not, why would he be so polite to her? Pass a message to this seat. Tell the Yama King to scram over here and kneel before this seat to apologize. If not, this seat will cripple his cultivation. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at everyone as he spoke. Just a single sentence caused the hearts of countless people to tremble violently. Numerous incomparably sharp gazes shot over, staring at Qin Wentian. Yama King? Their hearts trembled, almost thinking that they had heard wrongly. However, given how powerful their hearing abilities were, it was impossible for them to be wrong. This person wanted the Yama King to scram over here, and even wanted him to kneel and apologize? This is madness. Their hearts trembled as they stared at Qin Wentian in disbelief. Right now in the city of ancient emperors, who didn't know of the Yama King's name? In the city of ancient emperors where geniuses were as common as the clouds, if one were to say which characters they couldn't afford to antagonize, the Yama King would definitely be one of them. Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes froze as she stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian. Was he returning the words that the Yama King had said to him back then to the Yama King? She frowned. You are just letting your emotions affect your decisions. You better think clearly before you speak. You have already cultivated to this level. Why must you disregard your own life for the sake of courage? Is this worth it? Qin Wentian stared at Su Qingyao in bewilderment. An expression of interest flashed in his eyes, causing Su Qingyao to glare at him fiercely. Back then I spent 7 days talking about romance with Fairy Qingyao. Could it be that Fairy Qingyao has fallen in love with this seat? Qin Wentian had a strange look on his face. Fallen in love with you? Su Qingyao's face was filled with black lines. She glared at Qin Wentian. In that case, you can go and die. Qin Wentian laughed. He didn't care about Su Qingyao's cursing. He turned to the experts here and spoke, everyone, you can go and spread the words of this seat. Tell the Yama King to scram to kneel in front of this seat and repent. Su Qingyao bit her lips lightly as she stared at Qin Wentian, thinking in her heart that this fellow must have gone crazy. The experts in the surroundings were all in an uproar. For those who have never heard of the saber-sword immortal king before, they were all wondering who this fellow was exactly. If the Yama King heard of this, would he still be alive? At this moment, the eyelashes of that beautiful figure who had been calmly standing on the mountain peak suddenly fluttered. After that, a pair of resplendent eyes opened as her robes fluttered in the wind. Her gaze slowly turned over and landed on Qin Wentian. She naturally recognized Qin Wentian. Back then when the saber-sword immortal king fought against the Yama King, she was at the side and personally witnessed that battle. Right now, the saber-sword immortal king has returned and domineeringly declared a challenge to the Yama King. She didn't say anything, her beautiful eyes slowly closed again. Qin Wentian also glanced over. He initially thought that the demons of the desolate mountains were all uncivilized and ruthless greater demons. He didn't expect that there would actually be a 9-tailed demon fox maiden who was so beautiful to such an extent. She was born a demon, yet she actually exuded a pure and holy aura like a goddess. The news of the saber-sword immortal king wanting the Yama King to scram before him to kneel and repent instantly caused a huge commotion in the city of ancient emperors. Some people laughed it off after hearing this, silently mocking the saber-sword immortal king for not knowing the immensity of death. During these years there were many such characters in the city of ancient emperors who wanted to challenge the strongest experts the moment they arrived, using their emperor's fate to shake the entire city of ancient emperors. However, there were also some people who knew about the battle 30 years ago. All of them were extremely interested as they sped towards the direction Qin Wentian was in. After 30 years, was the saber-sword immortal king going to challenge the Yama king again? Very swiftly, the news spread to the experts under Ziti from the Violet Mountain, as well as the 9 emperors' immortal state, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, and many other immortal kings. In an instant, countless experts in the city of ancient emperors all rushed towards the direction Qin Wentian was in. Chapter 1492. Qin Wentian has been waiting here. Although the city of ancient emperors was very vast, since the Yama king's name resounded throughout the city, his words would surely be transmitted out at an extremely fast speed. Unless the Yama king was in closed-door seclusion, he should be able to hear his words very quickly. In the city of ancient emperors, emperor's fate was akin to luck. Now that he came here again, his emperor's fate had to start anew. If he wanted to strengthen his emperor's fate as quickly as possible, it was very simple. He had to defeat those with the highest prestige in the city of ancient emperors, and he would instantly gain the respect of everyone here. This was one of the reasons why he called out to the Yama king. As more and more experts arrived, their gazes all landed on Qin Wentian. Was this man the saber-sword immortal king? Telling the Yama king to crawl over and kneel before him to repent? Was he courting death? Vizi. A raging wind gusted by as 2 greater demons flew over. They floated in the air and stared at Qin Wentian. These 2 demons were extremely outstanding. One of them was in the form of a golden rock, while the other was in the form of a vermilion bird. The golden rock's silhouette flashed as it circled above Qin Wentian's head. An expression of interest could be seen in its eyes. Little rascal, scram away. Don't let others recognize you. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to this fellow. So it turned out that these 2 greater demons were none other than Little Rascal and Purgatory. 1 human and 2 demons were connected by blood. They naturally knew each other. Little Rascal, who was in the form of a golden rock, continued circling in the air, squeaking. After that, it landed on Qin Wentian's head and stretched out its claws, slapping Qin Wentian's head twice. You dare to challenge the Yama king? Not bad. Do you believe this seat won't kill you? Qin Wentian inclined his head and glanced at Little Rascal. This fellow even dared to tease him. You are quite gutsy, daring to threaten this king? Although Little Rascal's voice sounded more mature, it was still somewhat immature. Calling himself this king sounded somewhat comical, causing many to laugh in their hearts. What little demon was this? He was actually quite adorable. Your wings have hardened? Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Little Rascal. After that, he abruptly stretched his hand out and grabbed at the air. This Little Rascal actually dared to challenge him? Swoosh! A golden bolt of lightning arced through the air. Little Rascal instantly slipped away, causing Qin Wentian's hand to grab onto empty air. Little Rascal's body shrunk back to its original size, turning back into a snow-white little demon. It was covered in fur and looked extremely adorable. Under the bewildered gazes of the crowd, Little Rascal actually leaped onto the shoulder of the female on the ancient peak. Sister Divine Fox, he bullied me. Qin Wentian had an expression of astonishment on his face when he saw this scene. After which, he only saw the goddess-like maiden stretching out her fair hands and pulling Little Rascal into her embrace, gently caressing his skin as she coldly glanced at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was completely dumbfounded. Bastard. This Little Rascal was simply a demon-level character. It seemed like there were no beautiful women he couldn't handle, right? Including Princess Kitamura and this 9-tailed demon fox. They were simply 2 demon-level characters. Little Rascal straightened his head and had a complacent expression on his face as he stared at Qin Wentian. Purgatory transformed into her human form, revealing a fiery figure. Her pure and innocent countenance exuded a seductive aura, causing many to involuntarily cast a few glances at her. These greater demons were all truly beautiful. Purgatory glanced at Qin Wentian and also received the voice transmission from Qin Wentian. She didn't say anything and simply moved to the side as she transmitted her voice. Big Brother Qin, the Yama King's strength stands at the peak of the city of ancient emperors. His combat prowess is extremely powerful. Do you have the confidence to challenge him? I don't know. Qin Wentian replied with a smile. How did Little Rascal cultivate? How did he reach the peak stage of the Demon King realm? How long have you guys been in the city of ancient emperors? We've been here for many years. Little Rascal has always been taken care of by a senior heaven-devouring beast. Also, his talent is extremely terrifying and he has unique innate techniques. His cultivation speed is extremely fast, but he only broke through not too long ago. Purgatory gently spoke. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. Back then, Little Rascal had already reached the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. He didn't expect that this time around, Little Rascal's cultivation speed would be even faster, directly breaking through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Purgatory was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. What's going on between him and that demon fox maiden? Qin Wentian asked again. That maiden possesses the purest bloodline of the nine-tailed fox race. It's rumored that she is a descendant of a nine-tailed divine fox. Senior heaven-devouring beast has some friendship with the nine-tailed fox race and had once brought Little Rascal to the nine-tailed fox race as a guest. Hence, they are acquainted with each other. The moment Little Rascal met her, he immediately tried to suck up to her. Isn't it all because he found her beautiful? Purgatory spoke with disdain. She had been together with Little Rascal for many years, and could be considered to have experienced how shameless Little Rascal was. Qin Wentian sweated. He didn't intend to acknowledge Little Rascal anymore. His face was completely thrown away by him. The holy maiden of the Namhuang clan is here as well. Before this we were together. Purgatory reminded. A raging wind gusted by as more and more experts arrived. And as expected, Qin Wentian saw the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan arriving, including Namhuang Yunxi. She was dressed in red, resembling a phoenix robe, exuding a sense of nobility and holiness. Saber-sword Immortal King. Namhuang Yunxi smiled as she called out, Holy Maiden Namhuang Yunxi, how have you been? Qin Wentian laughed. This saber-sword Immortal King is acquainted with the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan? Many people had strange looks on their faces. You still dare to return? A cold voice rang out. A group of experts appeared. All of them were clad in yellow robes, exuding an air of nobility and unexcelled in the world. The person in the lead was none other than Huang Zhoutian, who was heavily injured by Qin Wentian back then. Qin Wentian glanced at him as he laughed. A loser still dares to appear before me? Huang Zhoutian's expression sank. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state all released their auras. Why, you want to start a war? A holy maiden from the Namhuang clan glanced at him. Start a war? Qin Wentian laughed as he glanced at the people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. Just them? Are they even qualified? Impudent. An expert from the 9 Emperors' immortal state coldly spoke. Bzz. Qin Wentian glanced at his opponent as his eyes turned incomparably terrifying. His opponent was instantly immersed in it. With a thunderous roar, Emperor might gushed forth from him, shocking the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. In just a short instant, a line of blood appeared on that person's forehead as he screamed in agony as he fell from the air. Boom boom boom. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state were all shocked as they stared at Qin Wentian. Saber-sword Immortal King. Huang Zhoutian roared. His body soared up into the air as his battle intent towered up into the sky. I will count to 9. If you all still dare to appear before me, I will kill you all without mercy. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, he directly added 9. Kill him. Fight. How could the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state endure such humiliation? All of them roared in rage. Huang Zhoutian's body trembled as his might swept over everything. 8. Qin Wentian spoke again. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state roared in rage. Huang Zhoutian stared at the disdain in Qin Wentian's eyes as he thought back to the battle in the past. A hint of trepidation could be seen in the depths of his eyes. 7. Qin Wentian didn't bother to waste words with them and continued shouting, Should we fight or not? Someone stared at Huang Zhoutian, who was in the air. Although Huang Zhoutian's aura was extremely tyrannical, he still didn't step forward. During these 30 years, his improvement was extremely great. His combat prowess had transformed, and when he encountered the saber-sword Immortal King again, he felt an impulse to wipe away his previous humiliation. He couldn't help but want to fight. However, He didn't expect the saber-sword immortal king to be even more arrogant than before. With just a glance he killed the expert who spoke earlier. 6-5. Qin Wentian was still counting. Huang Jiutian felt an incomparable struggle in his heart. During these 30 years his improvement was so great. But what about Qin Wentian? Could it be that he had stagnated? Earlier, Qin Wentian didn't even sense any law energy fluctuations from that single glance of his, and he already killed one of them. This was simply too terrifying. Also, this time around he returned to fight the Yama King again. Since he dared to return and even called out to the Crown Prince, what level of strength did he reach? There was no need to doubt his strength at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, or he wouldn't have returned. 4. Qin Wentian continued. Those experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state who were shouting for war didn't move at all. The people in the surroundings all felt a surge of emotions in their hearts. Although the Yama King hasn't arrived yet, they didn't expect the foreplay to be so fascinating. The words of the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state were incomparably tyrannical, but the saber-sword immortal king was even more tyrannical. He was simply lawless, causing the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state to be so frightened that they didn't dare to move. The saber-sword immortal king stood there alone. It was like he was invincible against 10,000 enemies. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state were all filled with trepidation. They didn't dare to fight. 3. Qin Wentian's tone turned heavy. His body slowly floated up as his eyes gleamed with sharpness, staring at Huang Jiutian. Huang Jiutian's heart pounded violently. He struggled incomparably as his face turned red. "Let's go." Finally, he spoke as he turned and departed. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state all felt extremely ashamed when they saw this scene. They only felt that they had no face left, but they all followed after Huang Jiutian and soared into the distance. Their speed was extremely fast, vanishing in the blink of an eye. They basically didn't have the face to stay behind. The hearts of everyone trembled as they stared at the silhouette of the saber-sword immortal king. At this instant, even for those who have never heard of the saber-sword immortal king's name before, they were all stunned. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state and Huang Jiutian were actually frightened away by a single sentence. This simply toppled their line of thinking. Madness, the current city of ancient emperors is too crazy. Everyone silently mused. The people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state are truly gutless. Someone spoke. However, Qin Wentian acted as though nothing had happened. He floated there and swept his gaze over the crowd. "If there's anyone else who wants to provoke us, feel free to act directly. There's no need to be polite, this seat will wait here for you. Just nice before the Yama King arrives. I can exercise my hands and legs." The surroundings fell silent. The experts here exchanged mutual glances. Little Rascal's eyes were wide open as he stared in the direction of Qin Wentian. A sound of laughter rang out from his mouth. This fellow was so arrogant after transforming into the saber-sword immortal king. He was simply too violent. Luckily, he fled quickly earlier or he would definitely be beaten up. Seems like he had to be more low-profile in the future. Chapter 1493. Don't you understand my words? If you want to fight, just step out. This seat will naturally grant you your wish. If you want to fart, just scram further away. Qin Wentian calmly glanced at the saber-sword immortal king as he spoke. He was as arrogant as ever, able to act so domineeringly to the experts of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, even daring to tell the Supreme Crown Prince to kneel and beg for forgiveness. One could tell with a single glance what sort of personality this saber-sword immortal king had. Most probably, there were no humans or demons in the city of ancient emperors that he didn't dare to antagonize. Back then, you were already defeated by my elder brother and fled in a sorry state, not even scramming out of the city of ancient emperors. Yet, you still dare to appear here? Are you courting death? Yan Luotan stopped in the air and pointed at Qin Wentian, speaking with incomparable arrogance. He was none other than the younger brother of the Yama King. Earlier, weren't you very arrogant? The saber-sword immortal king was defeated by your elder brother? Back then, how strong was your elder brother? He was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. What about the saber-sword immortal king? He's at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm. You actually still have the face to use this to show off? Yen Luotian, no wonder you still dared to ask your clan members to help you after you were defeated. Truly shameless. Jun Mengchen crossed his arms before his chest as he mocked. Senior brother Qin should have broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Right? There shouldn't be a problem for him to kill that fellow. Jun Mengchen was still very confident in Qin Wentian. You are finally here. It has been 30 years since we last met. This time around you should be able to kill that fellow, right? When Jun Mengchen heard the Sabersword Immortal King calling out to the Yama King, he instantly knew that his senior brother Qin had arrived. How could he not rush over with his fastest speed? Right now, he was already at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm and could travel alone. A strange scene appeared. After Qin Wentian scared off the experts of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, the Emperor's fate behind him grew even more resplendent, radiating a dazzling light that surpassed many people. Such shameless boasting. Why don't you go up and try? A human Wu Xiao mocked and egged him on. Qin Wentian glanced at the Emperor's fate on Jun Mengchen's body. It was extremely resplendent, surpassing the majority of the people here, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a bright light. However, he still maintained his calm and transmitted his voiceover. I have no idea how strong the Yama King's true combat prowess is. After all, I wasn't able to fully probe his strength back then. Many people glanced at Jun Mengchen as they whispered to each other. Clearly, Jun Mengchen was extremely famous in the city of ancient emperors. They naturally wouldn't hear the voice transmission between Jun Mengchen and Qin Wentian. They only thought that Jun Mengchen was here to join in the fun. Greetings, Crown Prince. Many experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire bowed. Even though they were experts from the royal clans, this was the prestige of a supreme crown prince. His authority in the Sanluo Immortal Empire towered up into the sky and his status was unparalleled. Many immortal emperors had to show him respect when they saw him. The Yama King was incomparably arrogant. He sat on the dragon war chariot as his eyes gleamed with divine light. He didn't even look at Qin Wentian, as though he was filled with disdain. His gaze landed on the beautiful maiden on the ancient peak. Qin Wentian sweated when he heard Jun Mengchen's voice transmission. This fellow was already a major character at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm, yet he was still so carefree. One of the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state was killed with a single glance, yet the others didn't dare to move. In fact, Qin Wentian directly berated and threatened them to leave. This undoubtedly proved how strong the Sabersword Immortal King was. How could his emperor's fate not be strong? This scene caused even the enemies of Qin Wentian who were hiding in the crowd to know their place, not daring to act recklessly. Yen Luotian's strength is also very strong. But what sort of character is Jun Mengchen? He obtained the Tao element's inheritance at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. How powerful is he? If he breaks through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, he would surely be one of the top characters. Yen Luotian is still a little lacking. Many people silently mused. Yama King, the Yama Crown Prince, has arrived. Yen Luotian was mocked in public. He roared in anger as his aura gushed forth violently. He coldly spoke, "What does this have to do with you?" The wind and clouds in the air changed, and the heavens and earth seemed to have become violent. Rumbling sounds rang out, and the clouds churned madly. A dazzling light was released from there, as though there was Emperor's fate shooting up into the sky. The golden light was like a divine light, incomparably dazzling. And this fellow is here to join in the fun as well. Jun Mengchen laughed. Senior brother Qin, no matter what, this junior brother has trained in the city of ancient emperors for 30 years. How can I not have any fame? Don't you know whose junior brother I am? I can't lose face for you, right? Senior brother Qin. A voice drifted into his ears. Qin Wentian saw that Jun Mengchen had arrived. It's Jun Mengchen. It's Yen Luotian. I was wondering who was causing a ruckus here. I didn't expect to meet you here again. In the previous battle you scrammed away with your tail between your legs. Do you want to try again this time around? Even before Qin Wentian could speak, Jun Mengchen already stood out and spoke with a mocking tone. Not long ago you said that you wanted to kill someone, but in the end, you were chased away with just a few words. I heard that this person is a heaven chosen from the strongest human power in the immortal realms, The Nine Emperors' immortal state. I've always known that humans are weak, but I didn't expect humans to be so weak to such an extent. They are as lowly as ants. Another greater demon spoke in a mocking tone, not mincing words. That greater demon from the heaven-hold race grinned, looking extremely malevolent. He stared at Qin Wentian and coldly spoke, "You are still so arrogant even on the verge of death? I'll let you humans bite each other first. I'm sure the Yama King will naturally kill you. There's no need for this king to act. Are you the one who wants to challenge the crown prince of my Sinluo immortal empire?" A cold voice rang out. From afar, a group of extraordinary figures could be seen walking over, all of them exuding the aura of kings. These were all experts from the royal clan of the Sinluo immortal empire. Even before they arrived, their voices already rang out, causing this entire space to tremble like thunder. Qin Wentian's lips curled up into a mocking smile, as though he was mocking the other party. Just like what he said, he only knew how to boast but didn't have the guts to start a war. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered with a smile, but his thin lips gave off the sharpness of swords. His gaze swept over the experts in the air as he spoke. "If you all want to start a war, just do it. There's no need to come here to instigate me. If you all want this seat to play with you all, you only have to say the word and this seat will definitely grant you your wish. As for those filthy words of yours, the weak want to use arrogant words to gain face? If that's the case, this seat would really suspect that their brains are not developed yet. What would you do if it was you? Interesting. These humans are too interesting." A demonic beast had a demonic gleam in his eyes as he mocked, feeling disdain for humans. That woman inclined her head and calmly glanced at the Yama King. She didn't say anything. "Whose brains are you saying are not developed yet?" A voice filled with evil chi drifted over. Qin Wentian saw a pair of ugly and demonic eyes staring at him. The owner of the voice was a human with an extremely ugly countenance. He was a greater demon from the heaven-hold race in human form. He is even more terrifying now. Gradually, the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the other major powers all arrived. However, no one dared to mention anything about revenge. The saber-sword immortal king hovered there. His presence was like a formless threat. Qin Wentian naturally couldn't be bothered with him. He continued standing there quietly. Although demonic beasts were more violent and impulsive, they weren't fools. Qin Wentian was able to order the experts of the Nine Emperors' immortal state to leave. Clearly, his combat prowess was extraordinary. In addition, he would soon die in the hands of the Yama King. Why was there a need to start a war with him? Qin Wentian was merely using this opportunity to vent his cravings, while mocking the humans of the immortal realms. For example, many of Zidi's sect members had also arrived. However, they only stared in the direction of Qin Wentian and didn't move. "You can consider it well," the Yama King continued. After that, his gaze turned to Qin Wentian and Jun Mengchen with lightning speed. There was actually someone who told him to roll over and kneel in repentance. There had never been anyone who dared to speak to him in such a manner before. This time around, he could be considered to have experienced something new. "I will directly tear off his head and eat it." Yan Luotian's expression changed when he saw that it was Jun Mengchen. He then spoke, "Jun Mengchen, this has nothing to do with you." Scram. Qin Wentian glanced at these people. He had met one of them before. It was none other than Yan Luotian, whom he met when he headed to the Demon God Mountain. Yan Luotian had provoked him before. In truth, he had met many people in the city of ancient emperors before. If he appeared with his original appearance, there would surely be many people who would recognize him. "Saber-sword immortal king, what do you think?" A human expert stared at Qin Wentian as he asked. "Junior brother, you seem to be quite famous." Qin Wentian felt somewhat bewildered as he transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. "You..." Yan Luotian was so agitated that his entire body trembled. He almost couldn't control himself and attacked. However, he knew that he wouldn't be able to win against Jun Mengchen. A resplendent dragon-shaped war chariot appeared in the air. Golden light engulfed the area as a terrifying pressure bore down, terrifying to the extreme. He didn't offend this king. If not, how could he do this? A greater demon spoke in disdain. The hearts of everyone trembled. Such an appearance was simply too magnificent. Only the supreme crown prince would be able to do such a thing, exuding imposingness in all directions. Who dares to be impudent here? A thunderous voice rang out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. This voice seemed to indicate that the crown prince had arrived. You are still as beautiful as ever. For you, I'm willing to give up my pursuit of Su Qingyao and give you the position of the crown princess of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. How about it? The supreme crown prince directly spoke. Su Qingyao's expression changed, becoming somewhat unsightly to behold. Although she had never accepted the pursuit of the Yama king before, the fact that he said such words in public would undoubtedly damage her face. He simply didn't care about her thoughts and face at all. This was the reason why she didn't like the Yama king. Although his talent was unrivaled, he was too arrogant and had no one in his eyes. One could even say that he had no one in his eyes. How does this have nothing to do with me? The Saber-Sword Immortal King is my friend. You and I are on the same level, but you were beaten up like a dog by me. You even have the face to mock others? If I were you, I would scram as far as I can right now. Jun Mingchen impolitely spoke. Upon seeing Yin Luotian's aura exploding forth, he laughed. Why? You want to try again? Do you want a life-and-death battle? Some of the experts of the demon clan spoke in a disdainful tone, mocking the human martial cultivators. Seems like Yin Luotian is smacking his own face. Earlier he was so arrogant, but the next moment, he encountered Jun Mingchen. Chapter 1494. At this moment they saw a gigantic foot that blotted out the sun stomping down, exuding a towering destructive might. This foot was like the footprints of a devil god, shining with a dazzling dark runic light as it trampled everything. Those who had witnessed the battle back then knew that 30 years ago, this foot had flattened the Saber-Sword Immortal King, but it wasn't able to kill him. This Saber-Sword Immortal King seemed to have an undying body. The Yama King's eyes turned to Jun Mingchen, ignoring Qin Wentian, who told him to roll over to the side. Chaotic laws, huh? Qin Wentian mumbled. The most terrifying thing about the Azura Hell wasn't the destructive might or the demon kings here. It was the chaotic laws, restricting people from borrowing the power of the heavens and earth, causing their opponents to be unable to unleash their true strength. Chi! A spear pierced over, exuding an unexcelled pressure. The Netherworld King's spear that could penetrate through the heavens and earth pierced through the light barrier around Qin Wentian. Yet it was actually shattered bit by bit, transforming into motes of light that slowly vanished into nothingness. I really can't stand your tone. It's already a miracle that someone like you can survive until now. Jun Mingchen stared at the Yama King. Maybe it's because you have a good background. Many people don't dare to kill you. If not, people like you would have already died countless times. I really want to see if you, who has broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, can walk out of my law domain. Don't play dead like before. The Yama King waved his hand, stomping on the ground. In an instant, rumbling sounds rang out in the Azura Hell as numerous demon kings appeared, all of them exuding terrifying auras. Each of these demon kings had peak stage Immortal King combat prowess, exuding a fearsome aura. Impudent. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky, disregarding everything. Bullying someone with a lower cultivation base? You seem to think that you are very impressive. This younger brother of yours has a mid-stage Immortal King cultivation base. I don't even need to lift a finger to kill him. Do you believe that I can kill him instantly? Indeed, he is too arrogant. However, the Crown Prince's strength was there for all to see. Others would only think that he was peerless and unparalleled. Who would dare to mock him like Jun Mingchen? Yama King, back then you bullied the Saber-Sword Immortal King because his cultivation base was lower than yours. You were so immensely proud of yourself after defeating him. Now that the Saber-Sword Immortal King has returned and wants you to kneel and apologize, you are actually trying to act imposing in front of me? Do you think you are very impressive? Right now, do you see that little brother of yours who is at the same cultivation realm as me? The Saber-Sword Immortal King can make him kneel with a single sentence. It's only because he disdains to flaunt his might before the weak. Don't you feel ashamed? Jun Mingchen's aura burst forth. Even though he was in the Azura Hell, he didn't feel the slightest bit of fear as he directly challenged the Yama King in the void. The experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire and Yama Tian all had looks of surprise on their faces. They knew how terrifying the Yama King's law domain was. Yet, he actually couldn't break through the Saber Sword Immortal King's defense. "How dare you?" the Yama King roared. The Azura Hell instantly appeared, transforming into a supreme might that enveloped this entire space, including the place where Qin Wentian and Jun Mengchen were at. Everything was covered by the Azura Hell. However, before the battle started, the vast majority of people felt that the Saber Sword Immortal King was already dead. Although he was already very strong and could kill peak-stage Immortal Kings with ease, forcing the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state to retreat with a single sentence, the fame of this supreme crown prince was simply too great. He has already dominated the city of ancient emperors for over 30 years, and rarely met a match for him. Most probably, even the Saber Sword Immortal King wouldn't be able to do anything to him. What a powerful body of laws. In the Azura Hell, he relied on his body of laws to directly destroy an attack from a peak-stage Immortal King. Such an attack can't even break his body of laws. Just a single strike was sufficient to sense how strong the Saber Sword Immortal King was. Many people had heavy expressions on their faces. Someone who dared to challenge the Yama King was truly an extraordinary character. Just wait. Yama Tian flicked his sleeves and flew towards the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. After that, he stared at the scene of destruction in the Azura Hell. "Tell them to leave." Qin Wentian waved his hand. He didn't want to say anything more. Now, if this foot stomped down, what would the ending be? "How dare you be so impudent to the people of my Sanluo Immortal Empire? Kneel down." The Yama King roared. His voice was like heavenly might, causing the heavens and earth to rumble as the void trembled. A formless and terrifying energy was like a bolt from the blue, penetrating through everything, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Jun Mengchen's body also trembled slightly. However, his eyes were as sharp as ever as he inclined his head and stared at the Yama King in the air. "Chi-chi!" A terrifying screeching sound rang out. That gigantic foot stomped downwards, wanting to bury the Saber Sword Immortal King within. "Chi-chi!" Terrifying screeching sounds rang out. To think that there are so many people who dare to challenge this king, truly not knowing the immensity of death. He lifted his palm and prepared to kill Jun Mengchen. However, Qin Wentian turned his gaze in the direction of his younger brother, Yama Tian. "Kneel down. It has been a very long time since someone dared to be so impudent before this king." The Yama King stared at Jun Mengchen below. "Do you know the consequences of your words earlier?" Rumble, a Hell King's spear shot over, exuding a fearsome destructive storm. The tip of the spear was like a vortex of destruction, capable of devouring everything as it pierced towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian calmly stood there, not moving at all. Boundless law energy cascaded down from his body, flowing from the inside out. His body of law is an undying body. "Yama King, this seat told you to scram over here and kneel down to apologize. I didn't tell you to come here to flaunt your strength. Did you not hear me?" At this moment, Qin Wentian, who was floating in the air, spoke, his words causing everyone to be stunned. Another character on the same level as the Yama King. Truly, each of them was more arrogant than the last. Seems like evil people need to be tempered by evil people. Let's see if the Saber Sword Immortal King is a match for the Yama King now. "Get out." As the sound of the Yama King's voice faded, an opening appeared in the Azura Hell. Jun Mengchen and the others sped out, exiting the Azura Hell. Only Qin Wentian was still inside. The Yama King stared at Jun Mengchen as he laughed uproariously. His words caused the heavens and earth to tremble as the space here grew unstable. It felt like this entire space was about to collapse. He was still sitting on the dragon throne, loftily staring down at everything, unexcelled in this world. Boom! A formless palm imprint slammed down from the sky. With a thunderous boom, he groaned in misery as he directly coughed out a mouthful of blood. His body slumped to the ground, as though he was really kneeling in the air. "Jun Mengchen, I didn't expect you to stand on the side of the Saber Sword Immortal King. After he dies, your death shall be the date of your death." The Yama King coldly stared at Qin Wentian. His voice was like lightning blasting towards the Yama King. When the Yama King turned his gaze to Qin Wentian, he only felt a boundless killing intent gushing towards him. With a loud roar, law energy erupted from his body as he wanted to retreat. In the past, this king regarded you highly and even gave you a chance. As long as you are willing to kneel and submit to me, following this king by my side, I'm willing to give you a chance to live and grant you a good future. However, I didn't expect you to seek death so much. Since this is the case, this king shall grant you your wish. The Yama king stared at Qin Wentian. He didn't seem to be angered at all. His voice was calm, as though it was extremely difficult to anger him. The Azura hell roared, terrifying to the extreme. Everyone turned their gazes over. Was the saber-sword immortal king really going to fight against the Yama king? Before this, many people still felt that the Yama king couldn't be bothered to show himself and would only send people to kill this arrogant young man. Outside the Azura hell, the Yama king and Jun Mengchen walked out. The Yama king's expression was extremely ugly to behold. Earlier he was forced to kneel by Qin Wentian. This was a great humiliation to him. Wait for me to kill him first before I kill you. I won't make you wait for too long. The Yama king glanced at Jun Mengchen. Since Qin Wentian dared to be so impudent, he would kill him first. If not, others would say that he bullied those with lower cultivation bases. Since this saber-sword immortal king dared to challenge him, it was clear that he had already broken through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm. Although your law domain can only bully those with lower cultivation bases, this seat also hopes that your strength can be stronger. If you only rely on a weak law domain, wouldn't it be too boring? Qin Wentian calmly replied. Their words were filled with extreme arrogance. Back then you bullied the saber-sword immortal king because his cultivation base was lower than yours. Why? Are you preparing to act against me now? Yama king, although you are famous in my eyes, you are nothing at all. Jun Mengchen stared at the Yama king, staring straight at him. Rumble. A chaotic aura engulfed the area as boundless destructive light rained down from the sky. The Yama king stood up from his dragon chariot. His yellow robes fluttered in the wind. He was like a supreme emperor, exuding boundless prestige, standing above the masses. You still dare to speak arrogantly to me? Jun Mengchen stared mockingly at the Yama king. What's going on? At this moment, the spectators only saw a resplendent light radiating from the gigantic foot. After which, the gigantic foot was torn apart, revealing the tiny figure within. Although he was tiny, his entire body radiated a divine light that could destroy everything. The gigantic foot that stomped down not only didn't manage to crush him, it was directly pierced through instead. It was as though the attacks of this Azura hell had no way to break through his defense. The Yama king's eyes pierced through everything, staring at Qin Wentian. This saber-sword immortal king not only told him to roll over and kneel before him, he even wanted to use the life of his younger brother to threaten him. The Azura hell erupted as all sorts of terrifying attacks frenziedly shot towards Qin Wentian. But the ending was the same. All the attacks were instantly shattered into dust when they landed on Qin Wentian. There was no attack that could break his body of laws. It was basically impossible for the Yama king to use his law domain to kill the saber-sword immortal king. Chapter 1495. Ha! The Yama king laughed maniacally when he heard Qin Wentian's words. As his laughter rang out, countless people could feel the heavens and earth trembling. Rumbling sounds rang out in the air. It felt like the entire sky was about to collapse. Many experts who stood extremely far away all retreated. Was the Yama king enraged? If he used his full strength, it was unknown how violent he would be. Right now, the Yama king had obtained the inheritance of a Tao element, and was even stronger compared to 30 years ago. This saber-sword immortal king would most probably die if he fought against him. What a pity for a supreme character like him. However, in this great era, how many geniuses would turn to dust? Everyone had a possibility of dying. This saber-sword immortal king wasn't willing to be ordinary, and wanted to challenge the Yama king. He must have made his preparations. Rumbling sounds rang out. The law energy in the air was seething as well. Only to see the Yama king's law domain, the Azura hell, also started howling. Incomparably terrifying energy transformed into a destructive devil king that could devour everything. It was incomparably gigantic, and its gigantic eyes stared at Qin Wentian as it brandished a gigantic black saber. There has never been anyone who dared to do this before this king. Not even immortal emperors. Today this king's horizons have truly been broadened. The Yama king coldly spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the terrifying destructive devil king slashed out with its saber, splitting apart the mountains and rivers. It was countless times more powerful compared to the demon king earlier. It was simply too terrifying, like a king of slaughter. The law light radiating from Qin Wentian grew even more resplendent. His constellation manifested, transforming into a gigantic human figure that exuded a heaven-shaking law energy. He then blasted out a supreme palm imprint in the air. With a thunderous boom, the destructive saber light slammed into the palm imprint, completely annihilating it. Is this a constellation formed from your astral soul? You infused law energy into it? However, how long can your law energy endure? The Yama king laughed loudly. He stood with his hands behind his back, resembling a supreme emperor. I've said it before. If you only have the strength of this law domain, stop embarrassing yourself. This seat will give you a chance to unleash your strongest attack. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky. Who was more arrogant than who? Two fellows with the same temperament. Everyone thought to themselves. They were both too arrogant, so arrogant that they considered everyone beneath their notice. Jun Mengchen stared at Qin Wentian with excitement in his heart. He discovered that his senior brother was truly interesting after he transformed into the saber-sword immortal king. He was actually so tyrannical and domineering. This wasn't like his usual senior brother. Nam Huang Yunqi's beautiful eyes also flashed with a bright light. Feeling somewhat bewildered, Qin Wentian seemed different from the past. Maybe because he had transformed into the saber-sword immortal king. He wanted people to differentiate between him and Qin Wentian. In the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian only killed people with heaven-defying backgrounds. Although many of them were his enemies, Qin Wentian didn't want to completely enrage them. The consequences would be unimaginable. My strongest attack? Are you even worthy? The Yama king coldly spoke. Break through my Azura hell first before I show you the other powers of this king. This seat's patience has a limit. I'm giving you a chance, you better cherish it. If not, once this seat kills you, don't blame this seat for not giving you a chance. As for your Azura hell, this seat can directly disregard it. Qin Wentian's tone was as arrogant as ever, completely not putting the Yama king in his eyes. This caused everyone to be completely speechless. This fellow, I've cultivated for so many years, but I've never met someone as arrogant and ignorant as you. Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant you your wish. The Yama king had completely lost his patience. A terrifying destructive might manifested behind him, causing the sky to distort as the void trembled. Numerous demon kings from purgatory appeared in this space. Destroy. The Yama king stretched out his palm. It was like the hand of a devil king, penetrating through everything, directly descending upon the Azura hell. Even the spectators from afar could clearly feel how terrifying the might was. That terrifying constellation behind Qin Wentian slashed out with a sword. As this sword slashed out, even the sky lost its color. A river of swords appeared in the Azura hell, gushing forth, piercing through the 9 heavens, slashing towards the Devil King's hand. It was unknown how ferocious the attack power was. However, Qin Wentian still stood there arrogantly, not moving at all. If the Yama King was like a supreme emperor, a destructive devil god, Qin Wentian was like a true paragon of swords and sabers, wanting to destroy the heavens. Everyone stared at the silhouette behind Qin Wentian. That silhouette was formed from constellation, completely formed from law energy. In fact, the saber-sword immortal king's law energy had already been perfectly infused into it. This silhouette shone with a divine-like light, having no flaws at all. It was simply too perfect. Although the saber-sword immortal king couldn't control the laws of heaven and earth in the Azura hell, just based on his constellation alone, he could directly fight against the Yama king, not fearing the chaotic law domain. Puchi. A gigantic spear pierced through the air, piercing towards Qin Wentian. It was as though a pitch-black hole had appeared in the Azura hell, shooting towards Qin Wentian. That terrifying destruction devil king of the Azura hell slashed out once more. Terrifying attacks rained down, wanting to kill Qin Wentian directly within the Azura hell. You still don't want to give up? Qin Wentian coldly spoke. The silhouette formed from constellation behind him radiated resplendent beams of light. Each beam was like a torrential sword river, a supreme pagoda will, a towering palm imprint, all of them blasting out unceasingly, causing the Azura hell to tremble. All the attacks were negated by Qin Wentian. Just based on the strength displayed by the Sabersword Immortal King now, most probably even peak stage Immortal Kings wouldn't be his opponent. He's simply too violent. The spectators sighed in admiration. Qin Wentian was yet another character who could contend against the Supreme Crown Prince. If he waited until his cultivation base was higher and reached the peak stage of the Immortal King realm before he challenged the Yama King, he might really have a chance to win. I've already said it before. This seat's patience is limited. I'll give you 9 more seconds before I take your life. This is your final chance. I'll start the countdown now. Qin Wentian's eyes pierced through the violent destructive energy, staring straight at the Yama King in the air, unexcelled in the world. 9 again? He wants to kill the Yama King in 9 seconds? Everyone was incomparably shocked when they heard this. Before this, Qin Wentian scared off the people of the 9 Emperors' immortal state by counting to 9. And now, he actually dared to say such arrogant words to the Yama King. Killing the Yama King in 9 seconds? How can this be possible? This Sabersword Immortal King is truly... No one believed in Qin Wentian. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to have such capabilities. In the entire city of ancient emperors, no one would dare to say such words unless an immortal emperor from another dimension acted. Stop dreaming. The Yama King was simply enraged by Qin Wentian's arrogance. He wanted nothing more than to kill Qin Wentian right now. Not only for him, everyone from the Sanluo Immortal Empire felt the same way. Too arrogant, they had never seen such an arrogant fellow before. This Sabersword Immortal King must have gone mad, arrogant to the point of ignorance. Someone sighed. No matter how strong he was, no one believed that he would be able to kill the Yama King in 9 seconds. This fellow. Su Qingyao was speechless when she heard Qin Wentian's words. This bragging was too exaggerated. How could he do it? Fuck. Jun Mengchen roared in excitement, forgetting to curse. He was too agitated. He understood Qin Wentian very well. He wouldn't speak without thinking and would do what he said. Although he didn't dare to believe it, could it be that his senior brother Qin Wentian had comprehended a terrifying ability that could kill the Yama King in a single strike? When he thought of this, Jun Mengchen felt his blood boiling. 9 seconds. He wanted to witness these 9 seconds well. 9. Just when everyone was filled with disbelief, Qin Wentian started counting again. His actions were the same as before when he threatened the people of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, starting from 9. Royal brother, kill him. The Yama King simply couldn't stand it anymore. He had never seen someone so arrogant before. Crown Prince, kill him. The experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire all pleaded, wanting the Yama King to start a massacre. There was no need to play with him anymore. Ha 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 ha. The Yama King laughed again. This time the commotion he caused was even greater compared to before. The heavens and earth trembled, as though the heavens and earth were about to crumble apart. Terrifying law energy gushed forth from him, engulfing the entire space. This king is truly enraged. The Yama King laughed loudly. The Azura Hell transforming into a gigantic maw of darkness, wanting to devour everything in this space. The Crown Prince finally made his move. The people from the Sanluo Immortal Empire all had expressions of excitement on their faces when they saw this. The Azura Hell, once the banishment energy was unleashed, the Sabersword Immortal King would be trapped in true hell. 8. Qin Wentian spoke again. His body moved, stepping out from the Azura Hell, soaring through the air. The heavens and earth rumbled as the entire Azura Hell trembled. However, the Azura Hell at this moment was simply too terrifying. The Yama King roared with laughter as he stretched his palms downwards. Boundless energy gushed forth, shaking the heavens and earth. 7. Qin Wentian continued counting. His eyes pierced through everything, directly staring into the eyes of the Yama King. Boom! At this instant, the Yama King seemed to be in another dimension. Boundless destructive might gushed towards him. The torrential sword Qi River capable of annihilating everything. Scram! The Yama King roared. A demon king appeared and was directly slain. Before him, Qin Wentian's figure appeared. At this moment Qin Wentian was too dazzling. He stood high up in the air like a divinity. He was above while the Yama King was below. He peered down at everything, exuding an invincible might. 6. Qin Wentian spoke. The Yama King's expression turned unsightly. Is this your illusory space? It actually has attack power? No wonder you could injure my Yama King with a single glance. But even so, in the illusory space, as long as your attack power surpasses your own, it would be fake. Also, your strength is inferior to mine. How can you win against me? 5. Qin Wentian didn't say anything. He continued speaking. In the outside world a similar voice echoed out, shaking the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian was still soaring up in the air, radiating a fearsome aura. 4. In the illusory space, boundless law energy radiated from Qin Wentian. He was like a divinity standing in the air, unexcelled in the world. Dual combat? How can this be possible? You can attack both the outside world and the illusory space at the same time? The Yama King's confidence seemed to have wavered. What? The people in the surroundings were all shocked when they heard the Yama King's voice. The saber-sword immortal king brought him into the illusory space? 3. In the dual combat space another voice rang out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. The 9 seconds were almost up. The saber-sword immortal king said that he would kill the Yama King within 9 seconds. Chapter 1496. Although everyone felt that Qin Wentian was bragging, when Qin Wentian counted to 3, the hearts of everyone involuntarily tensed. They stared fixedly at the battlefield as they clenched their fists. Even for those from the Sanluo Immortal Empire, they weren't as confident as they imagined. All of their eyes were wide open, as though they were afraid of missing out on any details. What did the Yama King mean earlier? The saber-sword immortal king is still rushing towards him. Yet the Yama King said that he was fighting in an illusory space. Could it be that the saber-sword immortal king created an illusory space to attack Qin Wentian while attacking him from the outside? Their hearts trembled. The saber-sword immortal king right now was simply too terrifying. He soared up into the clouds, cleaving apart all obstacles before him. They didn't see that right now, in another illusory space, Qin Wentian was even more terrifying than before. His entire body radiated an unexcelled might, like a true divinity. Scram! The Yama King roared. His palms blasted out in the air, blotting out the sky, wanting to destroy everything. Even if his opponent could unleash real attacks in this illusory space, the strength of his attacks would still be limited by his own strength. This meant that as long as he was strong enough, he would be invincible. The illusory space wouldn't be able to bully him, nor would it be able to destroy him. In just an instant, an illusory space appeared, blocking Qin Wentian. But at this moment that illusory space was directly destroyed. However, in the next instant, numerous other illusory figures of Qin Wentian appeared in all directions. It was unknown which of them was real and which was fake. 2. Qin Wentian roared. The sound of the 2 illusory spaces rang out at the same time. How can this be? The countenance of the Yama King drastically changed. He naturally tried to break free from this illusory space. Given his powerful will, he should be able to do so. However, even if he managed to break free, the illusory space was still filled with attacks. Such a tyrannical domain must be an extremely powerful illusory domain that his opponent comprehended. This was somewhat similar to his Azura Hell. From a certain perspective, there was no way to break free. Boom! In this space, the heavens and earth trembled as countless figures of Qin Wentian simultaneously launched their attacks. This time around, the saber-sword immortal king didn't use his saber or sword, but his palms instead. A gigantic palm imprint shot out, akin to a divinity's palm imprint. This palm imprint contained towering runic light, and each of the runic light contained a fearsome might. There was a towering sword intent akin to a river of swords, a pagoda intent that could suppress everything, a devil might that could annihilate everything. At this instant, the Yama King could sense that the various attribute attacks from Qin Wentian were all erupting forth from the palm imprint. 1. Qin Wentian let out a roar, and a towering divine light drowned everything. All the figures of Qin Wentian launched their attacks at the same time. What was real and what was fake? King Yama was unable to face so many attacks at the same time. He could only activate his strongest defensive power and bury himself in hell to block everything. Boom! The all-annihilating palm imprint slammed down, as though it was unleashed by a true divinity. Boundless light pierced into his opponent's body as the Yama King roared in rage. At this moment, an illusion appeared in his mind. In the outside world, Qin Wentian slashed out with the Dream Devil sword art, wanting to tear everything apart. The Yama King could see that the destructive palm imprint was inscribed with a myriad of innate techniques and techniques. Was there really such a powerful innate technique in the immortal realms? However, the spectators in the outside world couldn't see any of this. They only saw the saber-sword immortal king soaring up, aiming for the Yama King. Time's up. Killing the crown prince? What a fool's dream. An expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire spoke in disdain. Just based on this strength? As expected, this saber-sword immortal king was just bragging. 9 seconds have passed. Could it be that he can still kill the Yama King with a single sword strike? Everyone silently shook their heads. It was unknown who would die, let alone 9 seconds. However, what they didn't know was that in another dimension, the Yama King's entire body was trembling. That all-destroying energy was wreaking havoc in the hell around him, sweeping across his body. His body trembled violently as he suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble violently. The Yama King stared at the gigantic palm imprint as he called out, "God Puchi." At this moment, Qin Wentian, who was soaring up, had a sharp sword in his hand. With a simple slash, he directly pierced through the throat of the Yama King. The Yama King groaned in misery. In the air, boundless energy directly bore down, annihilating all life. The 3 words "God's hand" only managed to utter a single word before the Yama King's body exploded into pieces. He was directly destroyed, his soul disintegrated. Crown Prince, an expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire, exclaimed in shock as his countenance instantly turned pale. How can this be? Everyone stared in disbelief at the scene before them. After that, their hearts started pounding madly. How can this be? How can this be? Was this an illusion? The sound of that single word continued to reverberate in the air before finally dissipating. 9 seconds. A total of 9 seconds. The Yama King was killed. He actually died in the hands of the saber-sword immortal king. What happened at the very last moment? Was this the same as the attack the saber-sword immortal king used against the Yama King earlier? What exactly did the King of Hell encounter in the illusory realm? The people here were all Empyrean immortal kings. They knew that there were some illusionary arts that could distort reality and illusion. However, no matter how strong the illusionary art was, the true attack would only be the same as the user of the illusionary art. It was impossible for the user to surpass the user's attack. Even if the user's aura was strong enough, the Yama King wouldn't be able to kill the saber-sword immortal king, even if he was dragged into an illusionary realm. But the saber-sword immortal king wouldn't be able to kill him. But at this moment the Yama King died. This meant that he didn't manage to block the saber-sword immortal king's attack. The Yama King was the supreme crown prince of the Sanluo Immortal Empire, one of the peak characters in the City of Ancient Emperors. His combat prowess was unparalleled, but he didn't even have time to unleash his ultimate might before he was killed. The saber-sword immortal king wasn't bragging. He did it. No matter what happened earlier, no matter how curious they were at this moment, their gazes were all turned to Qin Wentian, who was in the air. The saber-sword immortal king in their eyes. They all thought that the saber-sword immortal king didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Killing the Yama King in 9 seconds? This sounded like a joke, like ignorant arrogance. No one believed it. They all felt that the saber-sword immortal king was ignorant. But at this moment, all their doubts and thoughts were nothing but a joke. They were all destroyed by a single sword strike from the saber-sword immortal king. Just like what he said, he gave the Yama King a chance to unleash his strongest combat prowess. However, even the Yama King himself didn't believe it. Until the moment of his death, no one knew what he was thinking. Su Qingyao stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before her. Her beautiful eyes were completely filled with shock. A light breeze gusted by, causing her skirt to flutter. Her eyelashes fluttered as she blinked. She drew in a deep breath and stared at the supreme figure in the air. After this battle, the saber-sword immortal king's name would resound through the entire city of ancient emperors. Even for that nine-tailed fox maiden who had been standing at the peak of the mountain, her beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she stared at Qin Wentian. Although she had never fought against the Yama King before, she knew that the Yama King was one of the peak characters in the city of ancient emperors, and there was no need to doubt his strength. Yet, he actually died in the hands of the saber-sword immortal king. Powerful. Jun Mengchen excitedly roared. This Yama King was incomparably conceited, acting as though he was invincible under the heavens. What about now? Lofty and lofty, as though everyone in the world was inferior to him. Yet, he was killed by the saber-sword immortal king within 9 breaths. As expected, his reputation is undeserved. He can only bully those with lower cultivation bases. My royal brother dominated the city of ancient emperors. Who doesn't know of his fame? When did he start bullying those with lower cultivation bases? Yin Luotian's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. Even if his royal brother died, he wouldn't allow himself to be humiliated like this. Fame? In the battle back then, he bullied the saber-sword immortal king because he was a mid-stage immortal king, wanting the saber-sword immortal king to kneel and repent. After that battle, he was immensely pleased with himself. 30 years later, the saber-sword immortal king returned and stepped into the peak stage of the immortal king realm, directly killing him. Isn't this enough to prove it? Jun Mengchen coldly spoke. Everyone sighed in their hearts. The Yama King naturally didn't have an undeserved reputation. One could only say that the saber-sword immortal king was too demon level. However, the victor was king and the loser was vilified. The Yama King died in battle. His reputation was destroyed in a single day. Most probably, those who didn't know of him would mock him for having an undeserved reputation, saying that he was merely SOSO. This was the cruelty of the martial path. Even for immortal kings, they still ended up like this. Before this, who would have thought that? Who would dare to imagine? And it was precisely because no one dared to imagine this. Hence, among the immortal kings who came here, there weren't any peak characters present. Only the nine-tailed fox maiden appeared. The others didn't come. Maybe they felt that this battle wasn't worth watching at all. Another supreme immortal king has been born. Many people silently mused as they stared at Qin Wentian. The winds and clouds in the city of ancient emperors were constantly changing. As expected of the Grand Era, the death of a supreme character was accompanied by the birth of an even more demon-level character. At the end, what did the Yama King mean by God? Does he treat the saber-sword immortal king as a divinity? Everyone stared at Qin Wentian. His magnificence was truly like that of a divinity, lofty and lofty. Qin Wentian glanced at the surroundings, staring at the shocked experts. His expression was calm as he calmly spoke. This seat told him to come here and kneel before me to repent. Maybe I could spare his life. But sadly, he wanted to die so badly. Hence, this seat can only grant his wish. The hearts of everyone twitched. This fellow, if this was heard by the Yama King, would he be angered to death again? This arrogance. But when they thought of how Qin Wentian killed the Yama King within 9 seconds, everyone could only sigh in their hearts. Even if one wanted to be arrogant, one must have the ability to back it up. If they could do it, they would also be as arrogant. Chapter 1497. Let's see his emperor's fate. The eyes of everyone turned to the area behind Qin Wentian. They only saw the emperor's fate behind Qin Wentian growing madly, radiating a resplendent divine light that soared up into the 9 heavens. It was simply too dazzling, surpassing the vast majority of the experts here. What terrifying emperor's fate! Just a single battle and after this news circulates out, his emperor's fate would only grow even more dazzling, trampling on the Yama King to grow stronger. The hearts of the experts mused. For a true demon-level character, just a single battle was already enough. Accumulating emperor's fate. Qin Wentian naturally also sensed the changes in the emperor's fate behind him. His entire person felt different. He could clearly see the surroundings of the city of ancient emperors. The inheritance energy from the Tao elements that cascaded downwards grew even clearer, as though he could touch it with his hands. This was also the effect Qin Wentian wanted. It was too troublesome to accumulate emperor's fate through battle after battle. Back then, the Yama king was extremely arrogant before him, wanting him to kneel and apologize or he would kill him. Hence, the first thing he did after he returned was to return the emperor's fate to the Yama king, using a single battle to increase his prestige. Even if he didn't need to battle in the future, his emperor's fate would already be enough to be ranked among the strongest in the city of ancient emperors. Because, as long as his reputation was high, his emperor's fate would continue to grow stronger. Let's go. At this moment, after they calmed down, the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire prepared to flee. They transmitted their voices to each other before retreating, intending to leave this place. What? You want to flee? Weren't you very arrogant earlier? Jun Mengchen wasn't far away and had been paying attention to these people from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. Upon seeing them wanting to flee, he immediately spoke, causing the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire to freeze. Could it be that you want to restrict our movements? An expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire coldly stared at Jun Mengchen. Senior brother, you have already killed the crown prince of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. This grudge is already a death grudge. The Sanluo Immortal Empire will definitely think of ways to eliminate you. In the future, you better not reveal your identity no matter what. Also, since you have already offended these people, you might as well get rid of them. Leaving them alive would only be a calamity. Jun Mengchen transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian naturally understood this logic. What sort of character was the Yama Crown Prince? He was only at the Immortal King realm, but he was already appointed as the Crown Prince, towering above all the other princes. Killing the Yama Crown Prince, the severity of the matter exceeded killing Zidi's son, Zi Daolong. This was already a blood feud. In that case, he naturally had to be more ruthless. Mengchen, you stay out of this and don't interfere. Leave it to me. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Jun Mengchen. He had already formed so many enemies when he transformed into the Saber-Sword Immortal King. He naturally couldn't implicate Jun Mengchen in this. Jun Mengchen understood Qin Wentian's meaning. He nodded silently and stared at the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire as he coldly laughed. I don't have enough strength to restrict your movements. If not, you wouldn't even know how you died. This matter has nothing to do with me. After speaking, he retreated, appearing extremely carefree. Everyone had strange looks on their faces. Who here didn't have any schemes? They naturally understood that Jun Mengchen didn't want to create trouble. It was fine to leave this matter to the Saber-Sword Immortal King. There was no need for him to be implicated. After all, he didn't have the blood of experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire on his hands. Did this seat allow you all to leave? Qin Wentian arrogantly stared at the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. Saber-Sword Immortal King, don't go too far. An expert coldly spoke, his expression extremely unsightly. This Saber-Sword Immortal King could kill the Yama Crown Prince. This meant that he had the ability to annihilate all of them. Go too far. Qin Wentian laughed when he heard this. Seems like you guys have forgotten everything that happened before. After speaking, he shook his head. He and the Yama Crown Prince were total strangers. Because of Su Qingyao, the Yama Crown Prince wanted him to kneel and beg for mercy. If he was defeated today, who would be the one to die? If he was defeated, the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire wouldn't even spare Jun Mengchen. Qin Wentian mockingly stared at the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. He took a step forward as a rumbling sound rang out, causing the entire space to tremble. Since this is the case, this seat will go too far today. As the sound of his voice faded, his eyes turned to one of the experts. In just an instant, that person fell into a dreamscape as a torrential sword river slashed over. With a piercing sound, that person died. The experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire all trembled as they released their auras. Saber-Sword Immortal King, if it wasn't for the despicable methods you used earlier, how would you be able to defeat my elder brother? Yin Luotian roared. Before this, he wanted to say this, but in order to preserve his life, he chose to endure it. But now, since this Saber-Sword Immortal King wanted to kill them, there was no need for him to endure it any longer. This seat's methods are all despicable. It's only natural for you guys to win. Qin Wentian glanced at Yin Luotian. At this moment, Yin Luotian could clearly sense the scenes he experienced earlier. He had fallen into a dreamscape. All of you enter for this seat. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over. In just an instant, all the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire were sucked into a dreamscape. Qin Wentian stood there arrogantly, like a heavenly deity, floating in the air above them. What ability is this exactly? Someone roared in rage. This seat tempered the mortal world. Roaming the world for 30 years, seeing all the sceneries in the world and comprehending the power of the myriad of things in the world. Turning illusions into reality, I created this dreamscape. This is my world. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, not afraid that others would know. So what if they knew? Who could break it? Using dreams as illusions? Dreamscape? The hearts of everyone trembled. This saber-sword immortal king actually comprehended such a unique ability. In the next instant, countless figures of Qin Wentian appeared in the vast space, all of them resembling divinities. When the light radiated from them, it was like the resonance of the 10,000 laws, boundless might. Since you all yearn for hell, this seat shall send you all on your way there. Qin Wentian waved his hands, unleashing the might of the 10,000 laws. All sorts of tyrannical attacks rained down on this space. Which attack was real and which attack was fake? All of them had to defend, but they only saw numerous figures falling one after another. In the external world, countless experts stared at the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire who were standing in different locations. All of them screamed in agony as they fell to the ground. In just a few short seconds, all of them died. In fact, the first expert who died didn't even have time to land on the ground before the others were all killed. So this is the Saber-Sword Immortal King? He's too powerful. Even the Yama King was killed within 9 seconds. The other experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire couldn't even withstand a single strike. At this moment, everyone here truly felt how terrifying Qin Wentian was. Su Qingyao's shock was the most intense. This was because her interaction with Qin Wentian could be considered the deepest. Back then, she had personally witnessed the entire battle between Qin Wentian and had seen him fight several times. Although he was incomparably powerful before and his attacks were incomparably violent right now, his attacks were extremely simple and quiet. In fact, there wasn't even a tempest in the air, but it was still enough to cause the hearts of people to tremble. Given his current strength, no matter how many immortal kings stood before him, they would all be killed by him. Group battles were basically useless against him. The Sanluo Immortal Empire is in for it. Many people mused. The immortal kings who appeared here were all extremely outstanding immortal kings. This time around, all of them were killed by the Saber-Sword Immortal King. This was simply too tragic. In the past, how arrogant was the Yama King? He had nothing in his eyes, not placing anyone in his eyes. However, no matter how powerful a character is, there would always be a time when he failed. This time around, his arrogance not only caused his death, it even affected the fate of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. This batch of immortal kings who died this time around, although they weren't the strongest experts in the Sanluo Immortal Empire, they were still the core strength of the empire. They were the future pillars of the empire. Now that so many of them were killed, there was no doubt that this would affect the future of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. And the reason for all of this was because of the tyranny of the Yama King 30 years ago. As expected, the river flows east for 30 years, the river flows west for 30 years. Although the experiences of the Saber-Sword Immortal King were simple, it was enough to become a legend in the city of ancient emperors. Is there anyone else who wants to spar with this seat? Qin Wentian stared at the experts in the surroundings as he calmly spoke. How would anyone dare to reply? Even the Yama King died in his hands. Right now, most probably only those characters at the peak would dare to fight against him. Since there's no one else, this seat will bid farewell. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, his silhouette flashed as he departed alone. Brother Sabersword, take care. Jun Mengchen called out as he chased after Qin Wentian. Little rascal blinked, but after that, he heard Qin Wentian transmitting his voice to him. Just wait there. Little rascal's strength was already so powerful. And there was also the 9-tailed demon fox beside him. There was no need for him to worry about little rascal's safety. There was no need for him to follow him or he might attract suspicion. Nam Huang Yunqi stared at the departing figure. Su Qingyao also stared at Qin Wentian, who was gradually disappearing. Both of them were speechless for a long time as many emotions filled their hearts. The saber-sword immortal king. Everyone mumbled as they dispersed. Very swiftly, the news of the saber-sword immortal king killing the Yama king in 9 seconds shook the entire city of ancient emperors. Countless experts were shocked. Just this battle record alone made everyone remember a name: the saber-sword immortal king. For those who mocked the saber-sword immortal king earlier when they heard the saber-sword immortal king calling him the Yama king, all of them regretted not going to spectate the battle back then. They felt that they had missed out on something. Many immortal kings in the immortal realms were discussing, which power did this saber-sword immortal king belong to? Where did he come from? Why haven't they heard of his name before? Such a character shouldn't be nameless. Several months later, on the peak of an ancient mountain, a figure quietly sat there. Majestic amounts of emperor's fate behind him soared up into the 9 heavens, terrifying to the extreme. He actually connected with the Tao element's inheritance that cascaded downwards, as though he could directly sense the power of the inheritance. This figure was none other than Qin Wentian. As time flowed by, the emperor's fate behind him grew stronger and stronger. There was no longer a need for him to fight and plunder emperor's fate. As expected of a Tao element from the upper world, truly extraordinary. Mengchen, the Tao element you comprehended is the Tao element of the world? Qin Wentian asked. Not far away from him there was a figure sitting there. This person was none other than Jun Mengchen. Yes, senior brother, there shouldn't be too many people who can inherit this Tao element, right? Jun Mengchen nodded. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. The Tao element will only acknowledge a single person. If you want to inherit it, you will be bound by the restrictions of the city of ancient emperors. You have to defeat all enemies in the world before you can verify your Tao. Mengchen, you have to walk your path well. Chapter 1498. Jun Mengchen's eyes gleamed with sharpness. If he wanted to seize a Tao element, he had to defeat everyone in the world. At the very least, he had to become the sole inheritor of this Tao element. Don't worry, senior brother. I won't have many enemies. Jun Mengchen didn't mind it too much as he calmly spoke. Don't be too careless. I can clearly sense the power of the Tao elements through my emperor's fate. The power of each Tao element is all-encompassing and your physique is suitable for this world-type Tao element. Maybe the cultivation of others might be different from you, but they are also suitable for comprehending this Tao element. In addition, everyone here are immortal kings. There are also immortal emperors in the city of ancient emperors. They should be experiencing this as well. Qin Wentian reminded. Right? Jun Mengchen smiled and nodded. Senior brother, what about you? You have such a powerful emperor's fate, and your comprehension abilities are high. Why don't you choose a Tao element? Or should I say, you want to comprehend many Tao elements at the same time? The powers of Tao elements repel each other. You can only choose one. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. This was what he comprehended during these few days. Jun Mengchen's eyes flashed, feeling somewhat taken aback. In that case, senior brother, what would you choose? Jun Mengchen asked again. I won't accept the Tao element's inheritance first, or I will be bound by it. I will temporarily comprehend it and not use it to cultivate. In that case, I won't be bound by it and can make other plans later. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. He borrowed the emperor's fate and could sense the light from the Tao elements even more clearly. Among them, there were Buddhist-type Tao elements, spatial Tao elements, reincarnation Tao elements, world Tao elements. Each of these Tao elements were all-encompassing and extremely terrifying. Once you borrowed the power of a Tao element to cultivate, you would be bound by it. You have to struggle and fight, defeating all enemies in the world before you could verify your Tao. If it was tens of years ago, no one would have thought that the city of ancient emperors would be so terrifying. Right now, it has already been many years since the city of ancient emperors transformed. Everyone in the immortal realms believed a single fact. Back then, when the Tiandao Sacred Academy appeared, it meant that this was the era of ancient emperors. In this city of ancient emperors, there would definitely be ancient emperors. It was only a matter of time. Thus, everyone felt that time was of the essence. They had to prove their Tao as soon as possible so that they could have a chance to stop the others. Yes, senior brother is extremely talented. You will definitely be able to walk a path that no one has ever walked before. Jun Mengchen believed in Qin Wentian as always. Mengchen, right now many people in the city of ancient emperors are paying attention to me. You shouldn't be too involved with me. You should change a location to cultivate. Qin Wentian and Jun Mengchen nodded. After that, they stood up and departed. Senior brother, we all want to stand at the peak of the immortal realms. As he spoke, his figure flashed and he tore through the sky and left. Qin Wentian continued to cultivate with his eyes closed, observing the orthodoxy in silence. He paid no attention to the outside world, nor did he care about grudges. However, the tree may long for peace, but the wind won't cease. Qin Wentian no longer stirred up trouble. But because of the battle back then, his emperor's fate was too strong. There were naturally many Empyreans who wanted to imitate him. Right now, everyone in the city of ancient emperors knew that the saber-sword immortal king's fame had soared, obtaining a supreme amount of emperor's fate. As long as one defeated the saber-sword immortal king, they might be able to replace him. Today, a supreme peak stage immortal king stood before Qin Wentian, radiating an intense battle intent. Thunder and lightning circulated around him, causing the sky to change color as the wind and clouds changed color. He stood before Qin Wentian, radiating an intense battle intent. You are the saber-sword immortal king? This expert stared at Qin Wentian, his voice rumbling like thunder. Scram! Qin Wentian closed his eyes as he spoke. You are truly as arrogant as the rumors say. Saber-sword immortal king. This seat comes from the Thunder God Hall. I would like to experience your strength. That expert spoke, his voice shaking the heavens and earth. Numerous bolts of lightning slammed down from all directions, causing the earth to crumble. A mysterious aura suddenly bore down on him. In just an instant, the immortal king of the Thunder God Hall frowned. He discovered that right now, he was in an independent space, not belonging to the external world. As expected, this is an illusion. His eyes flashed as lightning rumbled, sweeping over everything. But at this moment, he only saw a torrential sword river gushing forth, engulfing everything. With a roar of rage, the 9 layers of lightning transformed into terrifying lightning dragons that danced in the air, rushing towards the sword river. The sky changed color as the sun and moon lost their radiance. Poochie! Beams of resplendent sword intent slashed through everything. In the next instant, his head was directly severed. In the external world, far away from the ancient mountain where Qin Wentian was cultivating, there were many experts watching this battle with their immortal senses. When they saw this scene, their hearts trembled violently, extremely shocked. This was simply too powerful. Was this the saber-sword immortal king? They only saw the 9 layers of lightning roaring, but Qin Wentian didn't move at all. In fact, he didn't even open his eyes, he just quietly sat there. A peak stage immortal king's head was actually severed. This scene was simply too shocking. The saber-sword immortal king mustn't be antagonized. Many people silently mused. After that, they retracted their immortal senses and departed, no longer daring to target Qin Wentian. If they wanted to use Qin Wentian to rise to fame, they had to be prepared to die. The saber-sword immortal king wouldn't give them a chance to retreat unscathed. What sort of character was the saber-sword immortal king? He even dared to kill the supreme crown prince of the Sanluo immortal empire. Was there anyone he didn't dare to kill? If he spared those who challenged him, there would only be more and more people challenging him. This saber-sword immortal king clearly wanted to intimidate everyone. If they wanted to challenge him, they had to be prepared to be killed. And as expected, this battle shocked many experts, allowing Qin Wentian to quietly comprehend and cultivate. At this moment, many changes occurred in the city of ancient emperors. More and more ruins appeared. All of them belonged to immortal emperors. In fact, there were even ruins of ancient emperors appearing, causing a huge commotion. This caused many people to sigh. As expected of the city of ancient emperors, in this city there were many ruins that were hidden in the darkness. Now that the great era has arrived, the Tao elements descended upon the city of ancient emperors, causing many ancient ruins to be excavated. However, all of this didn't seem to affect Qin Wentian. He was like a transcendent being, ignoring the happenings in the city of ancient emperors and cultivating alone. Today there was finally someone who couldn't endure it any longer, and came to provoke Qin Wentian. This person was a peak stage demon king, a character from the royal clan of the Desolate Mountains. His ending was the same as the expert from the Thunder God Hall earlier. He was directly slain by Qin Wentian, showing no mercy. Time flowed by, the experts in the city of ancient emperors contended against each other. However, gradually those characters who stood at the peak all became transcendent beings. If they didn't contend against each other, no one would be able to replace their position. These existences gradually became the symbol of the city of ancient emperors. Among them, the saber-sword immortal king was one of them. They gradually stopped participating in the disputes in the city of ancient emperors and focused on comprehending the Tao elements instead. It has been 20 years since the saber-sword immortal king killed the Yama king. During these 20 years, many extraordinary characters appeared in the city of ancient emperors, but there was still no one who could challenge the positions of those characters who stood at the peak. However, although they couldn't challenge those characters, one couldn't deny that many extraordinary characters appeared during these 20 years. The number of people breaking through increased as many mid-stage immortal kings broke through to the peak stage. Similarly, there were also many initial stage immortal kings who broke through to the mid-stage. During these 10 years, another batch of outstanding characters appeared. An example was Jun Mengchen, who obtained the Tao element. His strength was extraordinary and his combat prowess was unparalleled. It was like he was only a step away from stepping into the peak stage of the immortal king realm, becoming a peak existence. There was also Hua Taishu, who also comprehended the Tao element. In addition, he seemed to have undergone a transformation. His comprehension was extremely deep and his cultivation base had also reached the peak stage of the mid-stage. He became famous because not long ago, he killed a group of demonic beasts. These demonic beasts originated from the Desolate Mountain Range, and were none other than the royal race of the Desolate Mountain Range, the Sun Gold Demon race. Hua Taishu, with a cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm, slaughtered over 10 greater demons of the Sun Gold Demon race in a single battle. Among them there were even peak-stage immortal kings. This battle caused his name to resound through the city of ancient emperors. His emperor's fate was incomparably majestic. Right now, Hua Taishu was being hunted down by that peak-stage character from the Sun Gold Demon race. It was rumored that the cause of this matter was a female, a beautiful immortal king from the immortal realms. She died in the hands of a greater demon from the Sun Gold Demon race. Other than this, a heaven-devouring beast appeared in the city of ancient emperors. He was extremely strange and lecherous. He loved to disguise himself as a cute little demon and hide in the embrace of the nine-tailed demon fox. Also, whenever he saw a beautiful woman, he would try to befriend her, causing many greater demons to be unhappy and wanted to kill him. However, his strength was already extraordinary. The greater demons at the peak stage of the Demon King realm couldn't even withstand a single strike and were devoured by him. During these 10 years, more Tao elements appeared in the city of ancient emperors, allowing the people in the city of ancient emperors to comprehend them. At this moment, in a certain location in the city of ancient emperors, there was a group of beautiful immortal kings. They were all surrounding a single person, as though they were protecting her. That person sat cross-legged, exuding an incomparably holy aura, like a goddess sitting there. From the sky, the light from the Tao element cascaded downwards, entering her body, causing her beauty to be even more holy. There were many immortal kings in the surroundings. Some had looks of admiration on their faces, some had evil gleams in their eyes, and there were even some who had killing intent. They were all people who obtained the same Tao element and wanted to eliminate this woman. This Tao element was none other than a spatial Tao element. Who is she exactly? Someone asked. Obtaining a Tao element at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm? There aren't many people like this. She definitely wouldn't be nameless. She's the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom, Evergreen Qing. She's the most doted-on daughter of Chongqing the Great, an innate immortal king with a spatial physique. It's rumored that she's extremely sensitive to spatial energy, hence she obtained a spatial Tao element. Such a background, such beauty, such talent. Seems like she's going to attract the attention of many geniuses in the immortal realms. Someone sighed. Evergreen Qing already has a fiancé. Back then, this matter caused a huge commotion in the eastern regions of the immortal realms. Who? Qin Wentian of the immortal Qinbian Gate, the inheritor of ancient Emperor Yi. Why haven't I heard of this person before? He seems to be nameless in the city of ancient emperors. Someone spoke in bewilderment. I'm also puzzled. Given Qin Wentian's reputation and personality back then, he should be in the city of ancient emperors. Yet he didn't appear at all. It's like he has vanished completely. This is a little strange. One must know that back then, he was someone who ascended to the peak of the demon god mountain. Old devil Duo Tian and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor wanted to kill him, but he was rescued by the Southern Phoenix matriarch. Oh yeah, he didn't come because he's worried about revenge. He has offended too many people and the immortal kings of the major powers are all here. If they see Qin Wentian, they would definitely kill him. Many people discussed, their gazes were still fixed on the silhouette of that woman. Chapter 1499. Qing'er was incomparably pure and holy like a goddess. The maidens around her were naturally her fellow sect members, GD's disciples. Who would have thought that junior sister Qi-er would actually be the first to comprehend a Tao element, a maiden's side? All of them cultivated spatial energy and yearned to comprehend a Tao element. However, among all of them, Qing'er was the first to comprehend it. In the future, if any of us sisters comprehend the same Tao element, we are not to kill each other. We have to be united against outsiders first. Do you understand? A senior apprentice sister stared at the others as she spoke. The maidens all nodded. If there was another person who comprehended a spatial Tao element, even if they were sisters of the same sect, cracks might appear. But before that, it was best for them to be united against outsiders first. Among the spectators, there was a group of short and small figures with wretched appearances. However, they were clad in luxurious violet gold robes and gave off an incongruous feeling. The eyes of this group of people were very small and shifty-eyed. With a single glance, one could tell that they weren't humans. They were demonic beasts in human form. What should we do? They secretly transmitted their voices to each other. Many turned their gazes to a figure in the middle. This person's physique was slightly more muscular, but he was still very short when compared to the others. However, his eyes were extremely sharp. Boss has already comprehended a spatial Tao element for many years. We can't allow others to threaten him. As long as someone comprehended a spatial Tao element, kill them all. That figure in the middle transmitted his voice back. After that, they all nodded and continued to communicate. Their bodies gradually spread out, forming an arc as they surrounded GD's followers. Someone noticed this as their eyes gleamed with sharpness. It's those fellows, they want to act. It's the void beasts. These vile beasts are all extremely wretched, but they are very united. Before this, they hunted down an Empyrean who comprehended a spatial Tao element and now, they want to act again. The crowd in the surroundings also conversed. These void beasts were clearly extremely famous. After all, the rules of the city of ancient emperors had changed for many years. Some of the more famous characters and demonic beasts were already known to the public. What do you guys want to do? Upon seeing the commotion in the surroundings, GD's followers naturally discovered the void beasts surrounding them. Unrelated people scram. The leader of the void beasts coldly spoke. Instantly, the surrounding people retreated, not wanting to be implicated. The void beasts were a powerful royal race in the desolate mountains, and their strength was extraordinary. As long as they didn't act against them, they naturally wouldn't interfere. Be careful, these ugly, stinky rats want to attack junior sister Qing'er. Cold, a woman spoke. Instantly, the experts of the void beast race all bared their fangs, revealing malevolent expressions. I hate it the most when people say this king is ugly. The void beast in the lead released a terrifying pressure. It's demonic chi forming a storm. Also, we're not rats, we're void beasts. Another expert coldly spoke. The original form of the void beasts was the rat race, and they were mutated rat kings. However, they didn't want to admit that they were from the rat race and only said that they were void beasts. Also, they hated it the most when people said they were ugly. Earlier, the words of that woman undoubtedly stabbed into their sore spot. They didn't want to hear it. In an instant, the incomparably violent demonic chi transformed into a golden void tempest, wreaking havoc in this space. The people in the surroundings frantically retreated. Although these void beasts were ugly, there was no need to doubt their strength. It was rumored that the old ancestor of the Void Beasts dared to challenge the Foarok race. Void World Barrier. The disciples from Matriarch G's sect also erupted forth with powerful spatial energy. In just an instant, boundless spatial light shimmered, transforming into an incomparably resplendent spatial barrier that shone brightly in the surroundings, protecting this vast region, not allowing anyone to invade. BZZ. Only to see that this spatial barrier actually had no effect at all. Those void beasts directly penetrated through, rushing into this region. In an instant, they reverted to their original forms, which were incomparably ugly and malevolent. They bared their fangs and directly bit at the people from Matriarch G's sect. As expected of a void beast, moving unhindered through the void. It's too domineering, able to ignore the void barrier created by the power of space. The spectators felt their hearts trembling. However, the reputation of GD's followers wasn't undeserved. Although there weren't any peak characters among them, their disciples were all extraordinary as well. This was especially so for those who were currently in the city of ancient emperors. All of them pointed their fingers forward. Their slender jade-like hands exuded an incomparably terrifying spatial energy, causing the wind and clouds in the sky to change. The void trembled violently, transforming into terrifying scrolls that blotted out the sky, capable of annihilating everything as they slashed out. GD's ultimate technique, Immortal Slaying Diagram. The eyes of the spectators gleamed with sharpness as they recognized this technique. It was none other than the Immortal Slaying Diagram. Everyone's Immortal Slaying Diagram was activated using spatial energy. However, there were differences between them because other than spatial energy, they were also proficient in different attribute energies. Hence, the Immortal Slaying Diagram was all-encompassing, capable of transforming into all sorts of terrifying attacks. Insignificant tricks. A cold voice rang out. These void beasts actually didn't dodge at all. They slashed out with their sharp claws, transforming into millions of afterimages. In an instant, countless golden claws slashed out towards the diagram, as though wanting to dig out all the energy within it. Boom! One of the void beasts actually directly dug out the Immortal Slaying Diagram and rushed out. Its sharp claws slashed out, causing a piercing sound to ring out. A female immortal king screamed in fear as a terrifying wound appeared on her face. As expected of a rat-type beast, the hearts of everyone trembled. The attack speed of these void beasts was simply too terrifying, resembling rats digging holes. However, it was far from what ordinary rat-type demonic beasts could compare to. Regardless of speed or strength, they were both terrifying to the extreme. Void beasts are the nemesis of those who are proficient in spatial energy. They are natural-born voidwalkers, yet they are still able to break through the spatial energy of others, directly traversing through space. Although these rat-type beasts are ugly, they actually have such talent. The heavens are truly showing kindness and might, giving them an ugly appearance that can't be seen by others, yet bestowed them with the ability to traverse through space. Someone mused silently. A group battle instantly erupted. A terrifying storm ravaged the surroundings. The crowd continued to retreat. The ancient mountains far away were directly shattered into pieces as fissures appeared on the ground. The GD's followers were somewhat on the passive side. Space-type energy was one of the most powerful attribute energies, and had an advantage compared to other attributes. But in front of these void beasts, they were actually at a disadvantage. Chinger, be careful. At this moment, a voice rang out, only to see a void beast breaking through the obstruction, directly dashing towards Ching, who was still comprehending the Tao element. Its ugly eyes flashed with a hint of evil. Such a beautiful girl was killed just like that. What a pity. It stretched out its sharp golden claws, causing malevolent golden spikes to appear on those claws, piercing towards Ching. If she was struck by those spikes, she would definitely be torn to shreds. The spectators from afar couldn't help but feel their hearts palpitating. This void beast was truly ruthless, ruthlessly destroying a flower. At this moment, incomparably resplendent spatial runes gushed forth from Ching, transforming into independent spatial runes that hovered before her. Her cold eyes abruptly opened as she stretched out her jade-like hands. Those independent spatial runes transformed into a fearsome spatial prison, directly trapping the void beast within. This time around, the void beast that could traverse through space was actually restricted by Ching. A sharp screech rang out. The void beast used its innate talent to traverse through space, wanting to break free from the spatial prison. His body radiated a resplendent light, yet he discovered that he was still unable to move. His ugly eyes gleamed with a ferocious light. Qing-er's countenance was as cold as ice. She blasted out with her jade-like palms as a picture scroll appeared, directly sweeping through the air, enveloping the void beast within it. After that, the void beast was actually sucked into the picture scroll, banishing it to another dimension. A scream of agony rang out from within, causing the eyes of the void beast to gleam with baleful light as they rushed towards Qing-er with even more frenzy. Qing-er stood up. When she saw several of her fellow apprentice sisters being injured and one of them being killed, her face instantly flashed with killing intent. Her silhouette flashed as she directly rushed towards a direction, joining the battle. This evergreen Qing-er is so powerful, as expected of someone who comprehended a spatial Tao element. The spectators all sighed in admiration when they saw Qing-er's combat prowess. She was already able to fight against peak-stage immortal kings. But even so, her side was still in a disadvantageous position. After all, their spatial laws were countered by the void beasts. The commotion caused by the battle here was extremely great. Spatial tempests manifested as people from afar rushed over. "What's going on?" A cold voice rang out. 3 figures descended from the void. The one in the middle was extremely terrifying. Although he had an ugly appearance, he exuded an aura of might. "Boss, that woman has comprehended a Tao element. Eat her." A void beast pointed to Qing, courting death. Even if there was no need for him to say it, that expert who just arrived also wanted to act when he saw his clansmen fighting. His robes fluttered in the wind as he grabbed out with his palm. A moment later, countless sharp claws manifested, shooting towards Qing-er. The entire space was enveloped by the shadow of the claws, and the speed of the claws was extremely fast. A peak-stage immortal king, a void beast king. The hearts of everyone trembled. Qing-er did her best to defend, but with a boom, a tear appeared on her robes as blood flowed out. "Vile creature, you dare?" From afar, a violent voice rang out, shaking the heavens and earth. That void beast king glanced over only to see a young and handsome figure rushing over with no expression on his face. He then unleashed another attack towards Qing-er, showing no mercy. Boom! The figure from afar directly punched out with the speed of a shooting star, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. With a thunderous boom, that punch arrived first despite being launched later. It was actually so fast to an inconceivable extent, shattering the countless sharp claws. "It's Jun Mengchen. He actually rushed over here. Seems like this battle is going to escalate." The hearts of everyone trembled. During these 10 years, Jun Mengchen's fame in the city of ancient emperors grew greater and greater. Chapter 1500. A violent wind gusted by. Jun Mengchen soared through the air, appearing before the void beast king. Why is Jun Mengchen here? Could it be that he is in love with Evergreen Qing-er? Someone asked in bewilderment. Evergreen Qing-er's fiancé is Qin Wentian, and Qin Wentian is the senior brother of Jun Mengchen. The two of them have an extremely good relationship. An expert who was more familiar with the eastern region spoke, his words causing many people who were puzzled to be enlightened. "You bunch of ugly rats. How dare you injure my sister-in-law?" Jun Mengchen roared. His cold eyes swept over to the void beasts. He stared at the void beast king, his eyes flickering with a powerful killing intent. The void beasts all inclined their heads and stared at Jun Mengchen, baring their sharp fangs. The void beast king in the lead radiated killing intent as it stared at Jun Mengchen. "You dare to humiliate us void beasts? So what of it?" Jun Mengchen pointed his finger at the void beast king as he coldly spoke. "Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror and see how ugly you are? You still dare to come out to harm others and humiliate you? Since you dared to injure my sister-in-law, I want the lives of all of you vile creatures." Roar! How could the void beast king endure this? It directly acted. Its sharp claws slashed out, transforming into golden swords that sliced through the void, slicing through everything, aiming for Jun Mengchen's body. It was extremely terrifying. If he was struck by this attack, his body would most probably be split into 2. Jun Mengchen radiated an incomparably violent aura of an emperor. Boundless light cascaded downwards, enveloping him. With a roar of rage, the heavens and earth changed color as he punched out with his fist, containing boundless might within, shattering that terrifying attack, causing the Void Beast King's attack to explode. Pucci! The Void Beast King directly traversed through the void, appearing before Jun Mengchen in an instant. It was too fast. The talent of void beasts that were known as voidwalkers was simply too terrifying. They ignored distance and their sharp claws pierced towards Jun Mengchen's eyes, wanting to use the simplest and most violent method to kill this person who humiliated them. How terrifying! Many people broke out in cold sweat for Jun Mengchen. He traversed through the void and unleashed an instant kill attack. It seemed as though there was no way to evade this attack. Just as it was about to kill Jun Mengchen suddenly transformed into a supreme emperor. Boundless light revolved around him as layers of light screens enveloped him. This light screen contained boundless might, and the Void Beast King's tyrannical attack was actually unable to break through this light screen defense. The eyes of the Void Beast King flashed. Its sharp claws continued to slash out. No space could block the attacks of the Void Beast King. Can you break through it? Jun Mengchen roared. Emperor light shone resplendently as a destructive might gushed forth from him, wanting to engulf his opponent. However, the Void Beast King's reaction was also extremely fast. It directly traversed through the void and retreated. The space before Jun Mengchen was completely engulfed by the destructive might. Those who saw this scene all felt their hearts trembling. However, the Void Beast King was already standing far away. Is this the power of Jun Mengchen's world energy? Everyone stared at the resplendent light screen around Jun Mengchen. Within it, there seemed to be a world of its own, containing the power of the entire world. Right now, Jun Mengchen's physique was no longer a secret. It was an extremely rare world physique. Given his cultivation base at the peak stage of the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, he became famous in the city of ancient emperors, able to contend against demon-level peak stage immortal kings. From afar, more and more experts arrived. Many demons from the desolate mountains appeared, watching this battle with interest. Ugly rat? Why, were you humiliated by humans? One of the demonic beasts spoke. His stature was also short and extremely ugly, comparable to the Void Beast in human form. Yet, he still dared to call the Void Beast an ugly rat? How interesting. The Void Beast King coldly glanced over. How can I be uglier than your Heavenhold race? Why? After being humiliated by humans, could it be that you want to vent your anger on my Heavenhold race? If it was my Heavenhold race, how would these people be able to survive until now? That expert from the Heavenhold race grinned. He turned his gaze to Qing, and the others as his eyes brightened. These human beauties aren't bad. It would be a pity to kill them all. Why don't we enjoy the taste of human beauties first? We have been fighting in the city of ancient emperors for so many years, and it has been a long time since we tasted the taste of human beauties. I really miss the days when we invaded the immortal realms. As the sound of his voice faded, many humans had expressions of anger on their faces. Their eyes gleamed coldly as they stared at the experts from the Heavenhold race. What are you guys looking at? Do you guys want to fight? Although these demonic beasts from the Heavenhold race were ugly, they were extremely confident in their ugliness. Your looks are already disgusting enough, but your words are even more disgusting. How can there be a bunch of beasts like you in this world? You are simply dirtying my eyes. Jun Mengchen coldly spoke to these experts from the Heavenhold race. Jun Mengchen, although it's true that you have some fame in the city of ancient emperors, you actually dared to insult my Heavenhold race? You are truly courting death. Ugly rat, quickly make your move and leave a few human beauties for us. I want them alive, especially that princess. This seat wants her. That expert from the Heavenhold race pointed to Qing as he spoke. Beasts will always be beasts. You are still uncivilized. Taking human form is an insult to humanity. If I don't destroy you guys, my name isn't Jun Mengchen. Jun Mengchen coldly spoke. A terrifying tempest manifested as terrifying law energy erupted forth. A terrifying world diagram flew out from behind Jun Mengchen, expanding unceasingly, blotting out the sun. Are you insulting the demons of the desolate mountains? A bone-chilling voice rang out. This voice originated from an expert from the Netherworld race. He was also in human form and was spectating the battle. When he heard Jun Mengchen's words, he couldn't help but to speak. Those demons who run amok in the immortal realms are all beasts. I have to destroy them all. Jun Mengchen inclined his head and stared at the expert from the Netherworld race as he coldly replied. Back then, when the demon god mountain appeared, the greater demons of the desolate mountains invaded the immortal realms. Many of them were extremely arrogant and domineering. He had long since disliked them. If he could cultivate to the peak of the immortal realms, he would definitely make these demons scram back to the desolate mountains. Everyone, what do you all think? The Void Beast King coldly spoke. A low-sounding roar rang out as more and more demonic beasts walked out from all directions. Their cold eyes stared at Jun Mengchen. One of the demonic beasts grinned. The immortal realms are truly a good place. Right now, I'm in the city of ancient emperors and I'm not free. If not, I would definitely stay in the human world and enjoy the feeling of being an emperor. Humans have occupied the immortal realms for so many years, and have already treated themselves as the masters. However, it's true that there are many good places in the human world. For example, the Jadestige Immortal Palace, the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox Race, and also the Namhuang clan. These maidens are all beauties. If I can capture all of them, I would definitely enjoy them to my heart's content. These demonic beasts spoke in an unbridled manner. In truth, during those years when they were in the immortal realms, there were indeed many places in the immortal realms that were in chaos. Many people died in their hands. Don't any of you have any thoughts? Jun Mengchen roared. He stared at the humans around him, Wu Xiao. However, he discovered that many of them didn't have any intentions to participate in the battle. They still had the attitude of having nothing to do with them. You humans are the ones who are truly despicable and lowly. You are all extremely selfish. A demonic beast impolitely insulted. Impudent. An immortal king couldn't endure it any longer. He stepped out, and after that, several other powerful immortal kings stepped out as well, radiating coldness. Very swiftly, the atmosphere in this space became incomparably violent. The demonic chi and the auras of human immortal kings gushed forth. Very swiftly, the wind and clouds in this space changed as a supreme might manifested, transforming into a terrifying tempest. Even from extremely far away, everyone could see the situation here. What's going on? The auras are so terrifying. From afar, people inclined their heads and stared over as their hearts trembled. After that, their silhouettes flashed as they flew over. A group of experts radiated resplendent light, as though they were cast from gold. When they saw the situation, expressions of interest could be seen on their faces as they soared up into the air, riding on golden war chariots. Hence, the might in the air grew stronger and stronger as the tempest intensified. Not long after, the place where Qing Er and the others were at actually became a gathering place for experts. It was unknown how many powerful immortal kings were standing in the air. Something major is going to happen. Someone sighed. In truth, during these 10 years, the battles in the city of ancient emperors were no longer as intense as before. The situation was already set. No one could shake the positions of those at the peak. All the experts were busy with their cultivation, and the battles were much less compared to the past. But now such a terrifying tempest actually appeared. Even the disciples of Matriarch Ji and the experts of the Void Beast race didn't expect such a situation to occur. The people of the Void Beast race only wanted to kill Qing Er, who had comprehended the spatial Tao element. They didn't expect that they would attract such a huge storm. Qing Er's cold eyes stared at the surroundings. Countless experts were gathered here. Regardless of the demons of the desolate mountains or humans of the immortal realms, there were many of them. In fact, there were even many devil cultivators from the myriad devil islands here. They were like existences in the darkness, appearing very quiet, but they were all extremely dangerous characters. There are people who say that our demons of the desolate mountains are uncivilized and want to destroy us. What do you all think of this? An expert from the Heavenhold race coldly spoke. Who said that? Your Heavenhold race can go and destroy him. Whoever dares to obstruct us, kill them without mercy. A cold voice rang out. It was none other than the king of the desolate mountains. As for these women, leave them to me and those rats. Do you all have any objections? That expert from the Heavenhold race pointed to GD's disciples as he spoke. As long as you all can capture them, they will be yours. Another demonic beast spoke. They coldly stared at the humans in the surroundings, as though as long as humans dared to help, they would be annihilated. Chapter 1501. Jun Mengchen's expression turned even colder when he heard these arrogant voices. Earlier in the Gazing Emperor city, he had already experienced how tyrannical these demonic beasts were. Right now, they were the same in the city of ancient emperors, completely disregarding the humans of the immortal realms. Although the desolate 10,000 mountain range rose up and the demon god mountain appeared, humans were after all the spirits of all living things. How could they allow these demonic beasts to humiliate and trample on them like this? A bunch of lowly beasts. Let's roast them and eat them after we slaughter them. Who dares to fight alongside me? Jun Mengchen roared, his battle intent surging. Whoever dares to interfere, we will kill them without mercy. An expert from the Sun Gold race coldly spoke, threatening the human Wu Xiao. After all, this matter was started by you, Jun Mengchen, insulting the demonic beasts first. Let him settle this himself, don't be used by others. A human named Wu Xiao spoke, hiding in the shadows. Who? Jun Mengchen's eyes flashed as he coldly spoke. After being humiliated by these vile beasts, you actually dare to say such words? Cowardly rats. I'm ashamed to be associated with you. What? You are the one who caused this and can't handle it yourself? You want to pull the humans of the city of ancient emperors to fight for you? Using us like this, do you really think we are fools? That voice rang out again, echoing through the air. If these demons continue to humiliate me, human Wu Xiao, it won't be too late for us to start a war with them. So much nonsense. Have you finished discussing? If you have, we are going to act. The Void Beast King's eyes gleamed with coldness as he stared at Jun Mengchen. Haha, since these humans are smart, there's no need to bother with them. Let's finish them off first. As for those beautiful women, just leave them to my clan. The Heavenhold race spoke. A bunch of vile beasts, you guys should scram back to the desolate mountains. A group of experts walked over. They were all from the Heavenly Talisman realm. Tuoba Saint Sky was among them, his eyes sweeping over the demons. Other than this, the experts from the Namhuang clan also arrived. They stood beside Jun Mengchen and GD's followers, making preparations to fight side by side. The Namhuang clan is here as well. This is interesting. We can have some fun this time around. An expert from the Heavenhold clan revealed a look of excitement. Let's begin. In the air, a netherworld AO coldly spoke. In an instant, many demonic beasts moved. The void beasts transformed into their true forms, baring their sharp fangs as they tore through the air towards the GD's followers. The experts of the Heavenhold clan stepped forward, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. They had boundless strength and were born with divine strength, able to lift the heavens. When they attacked, the heavens and earth rumbled like thunder. Boom! A gigantic demonic ape trampled on the ground. Many demonic beasts took action one after another, starting a massacre, preparing to get rid of these humans. Kill! Jun Mengchen's aura was incomparably violent. His world diagram transformed into a majestic world, enveloping the heavens and earth. In an instant, he was like an emperor of the mortal world, fully armed. Lifting his palm, he blasted out a golden fist. This fist was incomparably resplendent, piercing through the heavens and earth as the golden energy of the entire world flowed into it. Boom! The golden emperor fist that resembled a shooting star pierced through the heavens and earth, blasting towards a demonic beast from the Heavenhold race. That greater demon from the Heavenhold race had boundless strength and also punched out fearlessly. After the two fists collided, the greater demon only felt a majestic pressure pressing down on him. Crisp cracking sounds rang out as his bones shattered. His arm exploded inch by inch, causing fresh blood to splatter everywhere. His eyes widened as his heart pounded wildly. With a roar, he wanted to expand his body, but how could he make it in time? When his attack was about to be rewarded, everything had already been decided. The fist light pierced through his body, directly piercing through his heart. The greater demon from the Heavenhold race lowered his head and stared at his chest. Even his heart had been blasted apart. A hole could be seen in his body as he fell to the ground in terror. A single punch killed. Roar! A thunderous roar rang out. A peak-stage demon king from the Heavenhold race transformed into a gigantic divinity, exuding boundless energy as he rushed towards Jun Mengchen. Jun Mengchen stared at his opponent. He soared up into the air and similarly transformed into a gigantic divinity, exuding the aura of an emperor. His battle intent soared into the sky as the two of them instantly clashed. And in the other battlefields, battles also erupted. Tuoba Sainsky's assimilation ability was as heaven-defying as ever. He borrowed the law energy of the experts from the heavenly talisman realm and fused them together, forming a supreme grand formation. Tuoba Sainsky was born to be the eye of the formation. Other than them, there were also some humans who were enraged by the demons from the heavenly talisman race who joined the battle. But compared to the spectators, the number of humans who joined the battle was simply pitiful. Kill! A transcendent-level demon king from the Nether race commanded. Kill! On the Golden War Chariot, an expert from the Sun Gold demon race wielded a golden Sun War spear as he rushed forward. The demon race was violent and had an extremely cruel law of the jungle. The strong would be the king while the weak would bow their heads. They were violent and didn't have many rules. But sometimes they were even more united compared to humans. The greater demons who participated in the battle far surpassed the humans. This battle stirred up a storm. The entire battlefield rapidly expanded towards the surroundings, pulling the battlefield apart. Pairs of experts stood in one corner of the sky, and a shocking battle broke out. In the city of ancient emperors, countless experts inclined their heads and stared over as shock could be seen in their eyes. Over there, a large-scale battle actually erupted. The battlefield spanned across a vast area and was still expanding. In fact, the number of experts participating in the battle was increasing as well. Wu Xiu had an unyielding character. He couldn't endure the arrogance of these demons. If this continued, the immortal realms would soon become the immortal realms of the desolate mountains. Nam Huang Yunxi also participated in the battle. But even with her mid-stage immortal king combat prowess, she wasn't able to play a decisive role in this battle. In fact, it was obvious that the humans were in a disadvantageous position. They had fewer demon kings, hence they had the advantage. Careful! At this moment, Nam Huang Yunxi cried out in shock. But it was too late. Before her, a holy maiden from the Southern Phoenix clan was being torn apart by the sharp claws of a void beast. Fresh blood splattered through the air. Nam Huang Yunxi's heart trembled violently. How many people had died already? In the city of ancient emperors, several holy maidens of her Nam Huang clan had already fallen. In this great era, geniuses were as common as the clouds. Experts contended for the throne, but wasn't it the same? Wasn't it the same for 1,000 corpses? Not only did the holy maidens of the Nam Huang clan die, GD's followers also had female immortal kings that died. Naturally, the demon kings were the same as well. But for those who were still alive, they didn't feel any hatred or regret. They were still frenziedly fighting. They knew that since they were born in this era, they would eventually have to face such a battle. If it wasn't today, it would be tomorrow. A supremely beautiful figure appeared. In her arms was a snow-white demonic beast. Behind her was a sexy and pure maiden. The demonic beast in her arms rushed out, instantly transforming into a gigantic golden beast. The voice of the maiden was ethereal as she spoke. This is a battle between humans and demonic beasts. Do you really want to participate and stand on the side of humans? If this is the case, I won't be able to help you either. This is my battle, it has nothing to do with which side I stand on. If I don't help when I see Qing fighting, wouldn't that fellow slaughter this precious baby of mine? Little rascal mumbled. After that, he directly rushed out. His body expanded unceasingly, becoming incomparably gigantic as he sped towards the direction of Qing. Roar! A thunderous sound rang out as the sky changed color. One of the void beasts fighting against Qi only felt a terrifying vortex enveloping him. He abruptly inclined his head and stared at Little Rascal as he roared in rage. You actually dare to act against me? Whoever dares to touch Qing, I will kill them all. At this moment, Little Rascal retracted his usual playful attitude. Boundless law energy radiated from his mouth, and in an instant, that void beast was enveloped by a devouring energy. That void beast activated his innate ability, wanting to flee, but Little Rascal roared continuously. Even though that void beast managed to flee far away, it was still directly swallowed back into Little Rascal's mouth. That void beast struggled madly, unceasingly traversing the void. However, the space he was in was about to be devoured. No matter how he traversed the void, he had no way to escape. Not long after, his body transformed into a beam of light and shot towards Little Rascal. He was directly swallowed by Little Rascal. At the last moment, that void beast's body was as tiny as an ant. Is this a heaven-devouring beast? How terrifying! Heaven-devouring beasts that have cultivated to the pinnacle can even devour the heavens. I wonder if this is real or fake. Someone sighed in admiration. Do you guys know the origin of this heaven-devouring beast? Someone asked. What origin? Didn't he come from the desolate mountains? Someone asked. You guys don't understand. If he came from the desolate mountains, why would he help us humans in battle? It's because he grew up in the immortal realms. His master is Qin Wentian, the fiancé of Evergreen Qing. Traitor, eat him! A demon king stared at Little Rascal. A moment later, quite a few demons flew out, rushing towards Little Rascal. Little Rascal was like a supreme demon king. His eyes were golden, and his fur was golden. He roared once more as boundless law energy enveloped the greater demons that wanted to deal with him, wanting to devour them. He had no fear at all. Interesting. Some of the more powerful greater demons arrived here. A few extremely powerful demons walked out and directly joined the battle. At this moment, on the peak of an ancient mountain, Qin Wentian was still quietly sitting there. He had been sitting there for a very long time, but at this moment, Little Rascal's voice suddenly rang out in his mind. His eyes opened, resembling two bolts of lightning that could pierce through the heavens and earth, causing the souls of those who saw it to tremble. Rumble! With a flash of his silhouette, he directly soared into the air, rushing towards Little Rascal's location. After so many years, Little Rascal had never taken the initiative to summon him before. This time around there must be an urgent matter.